The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. It is August 6th, 2021, episode number 372, and today, Doomsday Variant. My name is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Welcome to the podcast where we bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And I must say, if there's one thing lacking in the life of my co-host Basil, it is the ability to schedule while in a time loop. He is in a different time zone dimension, and he said he just can't do it. It's too late where he is. He's not going to be able to stay up. He was very sorry about the last episode. He said he felt so loopy, and actually even when he sent me the word loopy, he did not use that word. He used a different word that I won't say out loud. But anyway, it was a mistake. It was a typo. So I will be running the show solo today. A couple things to keep in mind. For Egorius, Sir Egorius, I apologize. Just right at the top here, we're gonna knight you on the next episode when Basil is back in his abode. I just don't think it would be fair to knight you. It's too much heavy lifting for one host to do. You need both hosts to properly knight. So yes, Sir Egorius, or to be Sir Egorius, please one more episode and then you'll be knighted. And also reviews. I will skip the reviews today and I'll let Basil take it on next Monday, which will be, oh boy, the 9th of August, episode 373. So, I do want to just get into things here. And, well, before we do, just a little sad news. So, some of you may know or may not know, a few years ago, I met a person online here through doing the ministry and everything else, A Face Like the Sun. And we became fast friends. And, we would chat about all kinds of stuff, from what's happening to the world to normal topics and everything else. We actually interviewed this individual back on episode 57 of Canary Cry Radio. That was back in October of 2013. Wow, long time ago. And her name was Natalina, and just a great researcher, and just someone that came from the New Age, found Christ, and was really, really gung-ho about spreading the gospel message. And, her personal testimony of how she came to Christ, it was pretty powerful. She had a paranormal website called Extraordinary Intelligence, and she had a podcast, and she was doing her thing, and lost touch with her the last few years just because she got married, and I think she just sort of backed off a little bit from the space, as people people can get a little burnt out if you're just looking at conspiracy all day every day, or supernatural, dark, paranormal demons and stuff like that. But I think she was just living her life, and unfortunately on Monday this week, I found out that she was suffering from cancer, and I had no clue, but I thought, I should really reach out to her. And sadly, by Wednesday, the news came out that she had passed. So, it's one of those things where I regret not reaching out sooner, and not just from Monday, just, for the last I don't know, 3 years or something that haven't really had contact. But, she was a friend, and she was, again, a great author, researcher, someone that was really, really on fire for Christ. So, she will be missed. Please pray for her family, her husband that she leaves behind. And the one thing that, I don't know, it's sad, but also comforting in a sense, is that she not only is in the presence of the Lord, but she gets to know all the mysteries. She gets to, she right now, she is or not even learning, she's just being shown all the things, what's going on with ghosts and demons and the paranormal and all that stuff. I think things are much clearer for her in that regard right now. So, Natalina, you will be missed. Sorry I didn't contact you sooner, but I'm sure the Lord is, I don't know what to say. These things are tough, I'm sure that people can relate, losing people too young, but I have this for you.
Well done, thou good and faithful servant.
And I will leave a link. I don't have it in the show notes yet, but I'll put the link to this episode 57, in the show notes for people to check out. And because I think it's still relevant, some of the things she talks about in this interview that we did several years ago. So there you go. I just wanted to mention that, and just pray for her family, pray for her husband, and tough, very tough. But we must move on and keep plowing forward. And it's upsetting on days like today or weeks like this week when something like that happens, where you lose somebody that you called a friend, and then you see Bill Gates, just making a fool of himself. This is Bill Gates on Anderson Pooper Cooper, and he's Bill Gates on Jeffrey Epstein. People saying I'm buffering. Looks like my bitrate is okay, so could be the receiving end of the internet there. Yes, this is Bill Gates on Jeffrey Epstein on CNN.
Can you explain your relationship with Epstein? Did you have any concerns? Was there ever any concerns you had about it?
Oh, certainly. I had...
Lie, first off. He certainly did not at the time.
Certainly. I had several dinners with him.
Several.
Hoping that what he said about getting billions of philanthropy for...
Okay, I'm sorry. Why does he laugh when he says billions? Billions. So weird.
Billions.
Like Dr. Evil.
Billions?
Okay, sorry. I continue.
Billions of philanthropy for global health through contacts that he had might emerge. When it looked like that wasn't a real thing, that relationship ended. But it was a huge mistake to spend time with him, to give him the credibility of, being there. There were lots of others in that same situation, but I made a mistake.
I like how he tries to play it off like, oh, there's lots of others, not just me. There's lots of other people that hung out with Jeffrey Epstein for the billions of dollars that I was promised. I mean, first off, even apart from the Epstein connection here, and why is he apologizing 15 years later? Oh, because it's all public now. And, people have questions like Anderson Pooper Cooper. But this notion that he would meet whoever, who cares who they are, but if it's a possibility that I will receive billions of dollars for global health, well, I'll have several dinners with them. And that just shows the heart of the man. You know what I mean? It's not I mean, on one hand, it's like, I get it, you're already a billionaire, you're this very successful CEO of a huge computer company, Microsoft. But on the other hand, it's like, how much of your integrity, your ethics, are you willing to compromise for money? And of course, the Bible states that it's the love of money that causes all kinds of evil. I think this is a good example, because it just shows his heart. He's like, I don't care about this other stuff, these rumors, or maybe not even, it may not have been even rumors to him at the time. But yeah, it's a little shady, but nobody really knows about it, and there's potentially billions for my foundation, so I will meet with him several times. And then 2 decades later, he's like, I made a mistake. I don't know, very shallow. I don't even know what the point is anymore for Bill Gates to be publicly saying anything. The only explanation at this point is that there is something very, very egregious that the blackmailers have on Bill Gates. Otherwise, why are you on TV? Why are you on CNN? There's no point for you to get on TV and defend yourself like this unless there's something on you that you don't want public. I mean, just that, Occam's razor. There's no other reason for him. He's not the CEO of Microsoft anymore. He's divorced. He's, I guess he's still kind of involved with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but there is really no reason to do it. And, it's just one of those things where, I don't know, a moment of clarity for the public to see the heart of a man. And, it's one of those things. You should pray for the man. He's lost, conscience seared as iron. But I don't know. I just thought it was shallow. I know it got shared around on social media a lot and people are commenting on it, but I just wanted to share my thoughts because, I don't know. Who is going to listen to this and say, oh, he apologized for it. I guess he's all right in my book. Who's the one that's like, yeah, okay, I get it. You were looking out for your own foundation. You were looking out for the public health, the public global health. Trying to fund billions of dollars. And it yeah, I don't know. It's Anderson Cooper, so he's not going to dig in. But I'd be very curious to know more about the conversations Bill Gates had with Epstein, given that Epstein was a transhumanist and he was funding some very grotesque projects to push this transhumanist agenda, which most people either dismiss or forget or don't even know about, because especially with the Netflix special and stuff like that on Epstein, they completely left out the transhuman agenda, which he was a part of, which is sort of the other side of the whole trafficking and all that stuff. Of course, that's horrible, but the spiritual / psychological issues of a man like Epstein and what he was doing goes far beyond, in terms of philosophy, in terms of worldview. It goes way beyond just trafficking and blackmailing elites. He himself was involved in some pretty wild stuff, and he's not alone. Epstein was somebody that was thrown under the bus publicly. Bill Gates is on the verge of that. Who are the rulers in this world, the controllers, the bankers, whatever, who are not public, who we don't even know about? Maybe names that we don't even know about. It's so easy to bash on the Soroses and the, I don't know, who else? Kissingers and the Rothschilds. Yeah, because their names are relatively out there. But there are some whose names aren't out there who likely have a lot more power than these folks that are public. So something to keep in mind as we look at stuff like this. But bottom line, it makes me wonder, what do they have on this guy? Bill, what kind of videos do they have on you or whatever that you have to go on CNN and pretend like you're sorry for meeting with Epstein 20 years ago? So there you go. Moving on here, and we'll get back to some of the other issues regarding, well, I guess it's not Bill Gates proper, but I do want to play this jingle because the Bill Gates Makes for good jingles.
We're taking things that are genetically modified organisms and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein, right into the vein, right into the vein, right into
Billions.
We shoot him right into the vein. It's so funny. It's just billions of dollars.
Billions.
All right. Sorry. We'll move on. On behalf of Basil, we will move into a Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, so we're doing a Flippy update here. Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use Flippy to talk about the robot takeover in the world and more generally. But, we try to focus in on the robot arm itself. And today, we have a story from techxplore.com. And the headline here, robot uses tactile sign language to help deaf, blind people communicate independently. And I thought to myself, they should have been doing this a long time ago, right? Jamie Lard gets into position. She cups her left hand over the device, spreading her fingers across the top of it, and raises her right hand. When Lard is ready, Samantha Johnson presses a few keys on a laptop wired to the robot, and then, with a mechanical buzzing sound filling the air, the device begins to move. When the whirring stops, 3 of the fingers of the robotic hand are pointing directly upward, while the tips of the thumbs and pointer finger are touching, forming a circle. Lard uses... man, this is an unfortunate name there, Lard. Lard uses her left hand to feel what position the robotic hand is in. She moves her right hand to make the same sign. F. Perfect, Johnson exclaims. The robotic arm, built by Johnson, a bioengineering graduate student at Northwestern, is designed to produce tactile sign language in order to enable more independence for people who, like Lard, are both deaf and blind. Lard is one of the members of the deaf-blind community that is helping Johnson test the robot and giving her feedback on how it could be improved. Quote, I'm excited for this new opportunity to help improve this robot, Lard says, through an interpreter. Johnson came up with the idea for a tactile sign language robot when she is named Tatum, so she's named it Tatum, Tactile ASL Translational User Mechanism, as an undergraduate student at Northwestern. She took a course in sign language as a sophomore, and through that class, Johnson interacted with people from the Deaf Blind Contact Center in Allston, Massachusetts, to work on her skill. People who are deaf can communicate with their hearing friends and family through visually signed language. But for people who are both deaf and blind, language must be something they can touch. So that means that people who are both deaf and blind often need an interpreter to be present with them in person for interactions with others who do not know American Sign Language, so they can feel what shape their hands are making. Quote, when I was watching the interpreter sign, I asked, how do you communicate with that interpreter? And the answer was simply, quote, we don't, Johnson recalls. And the goal of developing a tactile sign language robot, Johnson says, is to create something that can be used for someone who relies on American Sign Language as their primary communication language to be able to communicate independently without relying on another person to interpret. She sees the robot as potentially helpful at home, at a doctor's office, or in other settings where someone might want to have private communication, or an interpreter might not be readily available. I think you get the point here. A couple more paragraphs. Let's just finish it up. Johnson is still in the early stages of developing the robot, working on it as her thesis with Chiara Bellini, assistant professor of bioengineering at Northwestern, as her advisor. Right now, Johnson is focusing on the letters of the American manual alphabet and training the robot to fingerspell some basic words. The ultimate goal is for the robot to be fluent in American Sign Language, so that the device can connect to text-based communication systems such as emails, text messages, social media, or books. The idea is that the robot will be able to sign those messages or text to the user. Johnson would also like to make the robot customizable, as Just like in any other language, there are unique signs, words, or phrases used in different regions, and some signs that mean different things depending on the cultural context. So there you go. The one thing they don't mention here is how they can connect these robot arms into a brain-machine interface, like a Neuralink type of device, and people that are paraplegic. I mean, this is very interesting too, that it's always with the healing process, or not enhancement in a, hey, we're being greater than human, but it's more of a restoration. And we've talked about this for years, about how technology has this pendulum where they're trying to use the logic of, hey, we're just trying to bring people to par so they can function in society. Restoration. We're trying to restore their ability to communicate, restore their ability to see, restore their ability to hear, whatever it is. There's a restoration as the moral and ethical engine to push this type of research and technology forward. But as that momentum carries on, it's going to blow past restoration, and it's going to move quickly into enhancement. And once you get into that realm, then we're talking about human enhancement. Somebody who's not blind or deaf, they can start using their whatever technologies to communicate or whatever they want to do. And, I don't know that there are necessarily advantages to having a sign language robot arm per se, but, that's sort of the concern here in the long term, is that what happens when you start to move beyond the restoration point and get into the enhancement? How can that be abused? How can that be, controlled or used for control? There are various concerns there. So there you go. There's your Flippy update. I'm sorry I don't have a funny angle to this. It just is what it is today. And not much in the realm of robot arms in terms of in the news. There's a lot of the space robot arms that are, still in the news cycle, but other than that, I thought this was a little bit different, so thought I'd bring it to you. Moving on here, we have a surveillance update.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
It's been a while since we played that jingle, but this is a Market Watch article. This is mirrored on MSN. Headline: Apple to put in place a new tool that scans U.S. phones for images of child abuse. What? What are we talking about? All right, hold on. I'm receiving a text about when I need to get our washer fixed. Okay, sorry. Life, folks. Life. It's funny about that. My parents had their washer and dryer break, so they came to our house, my family's house, to do laundry, and my mother proceeded to break our washer and dryer. I said, stop touching our things. Everything is breaking that you touch. Okay, so yes, headline: Apple to put in place a new tool that scans U.S. phones for images of child abuse. See what it says here. I guess this was originally an AP article, Associated Press. Apple unveiled plans to scan U.S. iPhones for images of child sexual abuse, drawing applause from child protection groups, but raising concern among security researchers that the system could be misused by government looking to surveil their citizens. No kidding! God. Ugh. This is one of those moments where I just, Oh, why isn't it playing? Here we go.
Tried to tell you.
Nope.
I tried to tell you.
There we go. I don't know why I did that. Yeah. Try to tell you. This is one of the things that I was saying about QAnon last year, and for a couple of years now. Is that everybody's talking about QAnon. The people that are QAnon supporters, a lot of them are like, hey, we got to take down the child trafficking rings, and blah. It's like all this righteous anger, which is understandable. Of course, you'd want human child sex trafficking to be taken down. But also, my thing was, okay, how are you going to do that? Number one, how is it guaranteed that, you know, the thing that replaces or the thing that takes this network down isn't going to misuse or abuse their privileges of being able to see into what's going on out there? And this is a prime example. You know, it's like, okay, well, great, yes, you know, we should be scouring phones for child sexual abuse, but also you're just totally giving up any kind of privacy. It is a difficult rub here, right? Okay, let's keep going with the article. Apple said its messaging app will use on-device machine learning to warn about sensitive content without making private communications readable by the company. The tool Apple calls Neural Match will detect known images of child sex abuse without decrypting people's messages. If it finds a match, the image will be reviewed by a human. It will be reviewed by a human who can notify law enforcement if necessary. But researchers say the tool could be put to other purposes, such as government surveillance of dissidents or protesters. Matthew Green of Johns Hopkins, a top cryptography researcher, was concerned that it could be used to frame innocent people by sending them harmless but malicious images designed to appear as matches for child porn, fooling Apple's algorithm and alerting law enforcement, essentially framing people. Yes, that's what we've been saying. Quote, researchers have been able to do this pretty easily, he said. Tech companies, including Microsoft, Google, Facebook, and others, have for years been sharing hash lists of known images of child sexual abuse. Apple has also seen scanning user files stored in its iCloud service, which is not as securely encrypted as its messages for such images. Some say this technology could leave the company vulnerable to political pressure in authoritarian states such as China. Quote, what happens when the Chinese government says, here is a list of files that we want you to scan for, Green said. Does Apple say no? I hope they say no, but their technology won't say no. The company has been under pressure from governments and law enforcement to allow for surveillance of encrypted data. Coming up with the security measures required Apple to perform a delicate balancing act between cracking down on the exploitation of children while keeping its high-profile commitment to protecting the privacy of its users. Sorry, I'm taking a drink here. Apple believes it pulled off that feat with technology that it developed in consultation with several prominent cryptographers, including Stanford University professor Dan Boneh, whose work in the field has won a Turing Award, often called technology's version of the Nobel Prize. The computer scientist, who more than a decade ago invented photo-DNA, the technology used by law enforcement to identify child pornography online, acknowledged the potential for abuse of Apple's systems, but said it was Apple's system, but said it was far outweighed by the imperative of battling child sex abuse. Quote, it possible? Of course. What are we talking to? Is this person not from America? It possible? Of course. But is it something that I'm concerned about? No, said Hani Farid, a researcher at the University of California at Berkeley, who argues that plenty of other programs designed to secure devices from various threats haven't seen, quote, this type of mission creep. For example, WhatsApp provides users with end-to-end encryption to protect their privacy, but employs a system for detecting malware and warns users not to click on harmful links. Apple was one of the first major companies to embrace end-to-end encryption, in which messages are scrambled so that only their senders and recipients can read them. Law enforcement, however, has long pressured for access to that information in order to investigate crimes such as terrorism or child sexual exploitation. Apple's expanded protection for children is a game changer, John Clark, the president and CEO of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, said in a statement, quote, with so many people using Apple products, these new safety measures have life-saving potential for children who are being enticed online and whose horrific images are being circulated in child sexual abuse material. Julia Cordua, a CEO of Thorn, said that Apple's technology balances, quote, the need for privacy with digital safety for children. Thorn, a non-profit founded by Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher, uses technology to help protect children from sexual abuse by identifying victims and working with tech platforms. I don't know, man. I don't really trust a non-profit created by Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher. Oh man. All right, so that's the article, and so this new technology called Neural Match will allow Apple to scan your phones and look for images that may have something to do with child abuse. Here's what I want to know. The article brought up the framing, right? You can, they can send you malware, they can send you whatever, and you can think that, oh my gosh, I'm just looking at this photo, and then all of a sudden you have a knock on your door. You know, why do you have, these images on your phone? But also, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, this is a great opportunity for governments to basically eradicate certain unfavorable types of images. And I'm not talking about the child abuse images. Obviously, you want to get the bad people. But, there's a lot of photos of, for example, our current president, doing some things that you might call child abuse or something close to it. And so, what if you have that and you talk about it on a blog or something like that, and you have a photo of Joe Biden a little too close to a kid's head, ear, whatever it is? Is it going to trigger the algos? Is it going to trigger neural match? I'm just asking questions. I don't know. But it just seems like one of those issues where it's like, there's a lot of pictures of Biden doing some pretty weird things to little kids and women, but, there's a lot of them of kids too. Which, speaking of which, recently, Biden called over this girl. He was doing a presser outside, and another weird moment where he kind of like grabbed the girl's pulling her. He's like kind of whispering into her ear, and like a little girl put just look on her face like, this is weird and creepy. I don't know. I guess it's just crazy conspiracy theorists, right-wing conservatives making a big deal about Biden doing stuff, because all I see on social media anytime this is brought up is, well, Trump did, it's like, we can't have this conversation without you bringing up Trump, or what? I guess not. But yeah, getting back to that this Apple thing, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. This is another reason why, even though Apple has been better about the privacy issue, at least they've been trying to publicly toe the line, of keeping their users happy with their privacy, but also, making sure they comply somewhat to the government. It's a tough line to walk, but it's even tougher to suggest, like, hey, this is why we need to get off our iPhones. We need to have our own phone, basically. Not the Freedom Phone, but technology that, people can create. There are projects, and then, people I know that have developed smartphones with, I think it's called, I don't remember the names of the operating system, but all open source operating systems that you can use, where you're not leveraging Apple, you're not leveraging Android per se. And you can do that. But much like the issue with the unvaccinated being a danger to society, a similar thing can happen where it's like, well, if you're not using an Apple phone and you're not using an Android phone, well, what are you hiding? You must be hiding something. So where's your phone passport? So I don't know. It's going down a road that I it's not surprising, but also not good. Not good. All right, we'll see how that develops and continues to develop there. We're going to move into another quick story here about the Great Reset and food.
We need a great reset.
I'm hungry. All right, this is a story from Bloomberg Business Week. And the headline here, plant-based fish is rattling the multi-billion-dollar seafood industry. Are you kidding me? Plant-based fish is rattling the multi-billion-dollar seafood industry? Okay. Let's see what it says. When a tuna marketing executive took a bite of the dehydrated tomato seasoned with olive oil, algae extract, spices, and soy sauce earlier last year, he was shook. He was shook. Quote, "This is going to be a problem for us," he said. At least that's how Ida Spire, co-founder and chief executive officer of Mimic Seafood, recalls it, designating it the highest praise she could have imagined for the delicate slice of tuna that, despite what the marketing executive's taste buds indicated, contained no tuna at all. You know, before I go on here, at least it's tomato, I guess. Like, at least it's not like Bill Gates saying like, I put billions. This is just it's my waste, and it's Bill Gates wastes sushi. You know, better than that. It's just tomato. I guess it's not as bad, but still. The Madrid-based startup Tunato product, fabricated from a specialty tomato variety grown in southern Spain that resembles sliced sushi-grade tuna in shape and size, is part of a growing class of food innovations fighting for the last empty shelf in the booming plant-based protein market. Seafood. Faux fish, which Spire concedes, quote, maybe 5 or 10 years ago would have seemed too far out, too different, or only something for vegans, is just a tiny fraction of the alternative protein market, dwarfed by the more mature faux meat and alt-dairy sectors. U.S. sales of plant-based seafood grew 23% to $12 million in 2020. That's it? Plant-based seafood it grew 23% to $12 million? Okay. I guess it's not as big as they're trying to make it out to be. Compared with a traditional seafood market worth tens of billions of dollars. According to the Good Food Institute, an international nonprofit pushing for more sustainable protein. There it is, sustainable. There it is. But the sector is evolving quickly. Investments in U.S. plant-based seafood hit $70 million in the first half of 2021. Holy moly. $12 million all of 2020. They already went $70 million in the first half of this year. Yep, I think we're in a great reset. It's still a minnow compared with the country's plant-based meat market, which has ballooned to about $1.4 billion in 2020 sales as companies roll out alternative chicken nuggets and pork sausages to join the faux ground beef and burgers already in household fridges. Not my fridge. Sorry, vegans out there. I don't have any fake meat in my fridge. Concerns about red meat consumption, antibiotics and livestock, and climate change have enticed more global shoppers to go meatless at least once a week. But fish, with its heart-healthy reputation, doesn't have the bad rap. Still, fears of overfishing, heavy metal consumption, and microplastics fueled by documentaries such as Netflix's controversial Seaspiracy are priming the switch. The potential market could be huge. Beyond vegans and flexitarians, faux fish might also be a welcome addition to, say, a pregnant woman avoiding high-mercury swordfish or a consumer with a shellfish allergy. And big corporations have taken notice. Meat giant Tyson Foods Inc. venture arm bought a minority stake in New Wave Foods, maker of plant-based shrimp, in 2019, almost 2 years before Tyson released its first vegan hamburger. And actually, I think if you go back a couple years, I guess, I think we reported on the plant-based shrimp. Rings a bell. In Thailand in March, Thai Union Group PCL, which owns the Chicken of the Sea brand, introduced its plant-based line, OMG Meat. What's OMG backwards? GMO! Hey! All right, Nestle SA's non-fish tuna is available in parts of Europe, while Swedish retailer IKEA sells vegan caviar. Vegan caviar? What in the world? Derived from kelp seaweed. All right, whatever. I don't know what the... the amount of money that's poured into this, we can definitely solve homelessness, I think. At least in America. Stop trying to make fake food. Why don't you just give real food to people? I don't think we need to get into any more of the details here, but the point here is that the faux food industry is moving into fish and the tuna salmon market, or at least trying to. And I don't think it's good. I mean, it might. I am very curious. As a Japanese American, I know culturally the Japanese are very, very picky about their fish, about their sushi. We go to we don't even. When I was growing up, we would go to the Japanese market that's down here in Southern California. We would get the fish, and my parents would always be able to tell, like, oh, it's a good stock or bad stock or whatever. And they never, ever, ever ate sushi from gas stations or like even grocery stores. They'd be like, oh, you don't know where that fish comes from and all that kind of thing. And which is true. But now it's like, oh, it's made from tomato. It's not even fish anymore. I would like to know like the omega-6 composition for something like this. Like what kind of nutrition, because some of the benefits of fish, you get the omega-6, I think, but I am not a nutritionist. Don't listen to me. I know nothing about nutrition. So anyway, I thought it was weird. It's part of the Great Reset, and they went after the cows, they went after the chicken and everything else. Now it's the fish. And I wonder if there's going to be like anti-plant, like the people that are really into the carnivore diet, or maybe, I don't know. They might, maybe keto. I don't know. People are going to rebel against this. I don't think people are going to really like this type of food, but we'll see. It's all Soylent Green in the end. All right. Well, let's get into the most egregious of things happening out there, and that is all the stuff about the vaccine and the pandemic.
WACCINE.
A pandemic special.
All right, I tried to keep things fairly short in terms of, because, there's, every time we do an episode, especially recently, there are literally hundreds of stories regarding the vaccine and the pandemic and all this kind of stuff. So I tried to I don't know, shave it down to 5 stories today, and we'll go through them. This first one is from Boston.com. Here's what to do if you've lost your vaccination card. Oh no. There's been stories like this before, but now that, they're really pushing the whole vax card thing, this might be good to know for, I don't know, it's one of those issues where you don't want to break the law. I'm not suggesting anyone fake a vaccine card, but it's good to know what standards the people that do enforce it will be, predicating their enforcement on. I know that de Blasio in the last episode talked about how there's legal tools that they used to mandate a vaccine passport to get into buildings and stuff like that. But here's what it says. It's possible, but not necessarily easy, to replace a vaccination record card, so hold on to it tightly. Everyone vaccinated against COVID-19 receives a small white rectangular piece of paper as a record of vaccination, and are warned not to misplace or laminate it. That doesn't make any sense to me, because on the one hand, it's like, all right, don't lose it, got it. Can I laminate it? No. Why? I don't get it. And wasn't there who was it? Staples or somebody? Weren't they doing free lamination of the card? Anyway, with more and more venues requiring proof of vaccination, anyone carrying the card around runs the risk of losing it. First, if you haven't already, take a photo of your vaccination card. A clear photo is all the proof most establishments require. Okay, good to know. If you're going into an establishment and all they need is a photo of the card, just take a photo of the card of somebody else, you know? I'm not going to check names. Hardly check names with other stuff. To keep it private and avoid scrolling through your whole camera roll, consider saving it to a hidden folder. On an iPhone, go to your share button in the photos and select hide. To find it, tap albums and scroll down to utilities, where there will be a hidden folder. You can further password protect this in settings. iPhone users can also scan documents on the Notes app and then lock it in with a password. Except Apple's going to be scanning all of your photos to make sure you're not touching children or, you know, trading pictures of touching children. All right. Some states have developed apps to store the information, and anyone using Google Pay or Apple Wallet can add a digital vaccine passport with VaxYes. If it's too late and you've lost the card, here's what you can do, according to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. You can contact your healthcare provider or the location where you were vaccinated. They are able to print out another copy of your vaccination card. If you enroll in vSafe back when you got the vaccine, your record will be stored there. If you haven't enrolled, it's too late now. It's too late. You can't be in vSafe in Massachusetts. Fill out an immunization record request form, which goes to the DPH to receive a complete history of all vaccines you've gotten, not just the COVID-19 vaccine. However, it can take up to 6 weeks before you get your records and has to be mailed and notarized, so it's not a quick fix. You know, I go back and forth on stuff like this because immunization records, for a lot of us, you know, it takes forever. You gotta get it mailed and notarized. But the COVID vaccine, we must be able to scan you right away. You know, but at the same time, it's like, okay, we have the technology to be able to pull up all of our records real quick if we wanted to. How come that's not accessible to the people? All in all, if you're worried about losing your card, it's best to digitize it with one of the above methods and leave the original copy at home in a safe place. Oh, thank you so much. So informative. But, yeah, if all it takes is a picture of the thing, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to... the concern moving forward with this thing is that, people are faking it. People are losing it. How are we going to verify? How do we know you're really vaccinated? And it's going to prompt a national database of some kind. And it's almost inevitable. They really want some kind of status. And of course, you know, it's interesting because you have the people that are really pushing for a vaccine passport. Not always, but a lot of times they're the same people saying you don't need voter ID, right? You don't need ID to vote. Yeah, just come on and just go vote, you know. Make sure you hit Democrat, but yeah, vote. So, identification is a very, very important tool for the world elite to control us. I mean, it is. Bottom line, Social Security, driver's licenses, passports to travel abroad. Identification is everything. And the implications and the trajectory of where we're headed with these vaccine passports is dystopian at the very least. Much, much worse in the bigger picture, you know, eschatological. But at the very least, it's dystopian. So, you know, but for now, especially if you're in Boston, take a picture of your buddy's card there and just be like, oh, yeah, here. Can I go in now? I'm not encouraging anybody to do that, by the way. I am just saying it's it can be easily done with the current way things are set up. So, all right, moving on here. Speaking about the pandemic, CNN Politics exclusive. Intel agencies scour reams of genetic data from Wuhan lab and COVID origins hunt. I like how they use the word reams. I feel like that's a word that I used when I was a kid, you know? Oh, there's reams of whatever. I don't know. Here's what it says. Washington, U.S. intelligence agencies are digging through a treasure trove of genetic data that could be key to uncovering the origins of the coronavirus as soon as they can decipher it. This giant catalog of information contains genetic blueprints drawn from virus samples studied at the Wuhan lab. China, which some officials believe may have been the source of the COVID-19 outbreak, multiple people familiar with the matter tell CNN. This is crazy. CNN. They had to flip on the narrative a few weeks ago, but interesting that they're still on that. It's unclear exactly how or when U.S. intelligence agencies gained access to the information, but the machines involved in creating and processing this kind of genetic data from viruses are typically connected to external cloud-based servers, leaving open the possibility they were hacked, sources say. Okay. All right. So this is this is one of those issues where it's like China goes, "Oh yeah. Come look at our look. We'll give you the password to the cloud. Come look at the cloud right here." There's absolutely no implication that the Chinese government would allow the intel agencies to officially look at the proper, source data. No guarantee whatsoever, but, why CNN has to report it. Still, translating this mountain of raw data into usable information, which is only one part of the intelligence community's 90-day push to uncover the pandemic's origin, presents a range of challenges, including harnessing enough computing power to process it all. You don't have Okay. Why doesn't our intelligence agencies have enough computing power to process the data that the Chinese government just gave access to? I'm lost for words. This makes no sense. How does just ask it again. How does the intelligence agency not have enough computing power to process this? What's the point of having access to the data? Which makes me again wonder, did the CCP just go, "Oh, okay, let's take this unimportant data and hey, cut paste, so that the data is so huge that they're never going to get through it"? I mean, what in the world oh gosh, this is just ridiculous. To do that, intelligence agencies are relying on supercomputers at the Department of Energy's National Labs, a collection of 17 elite government research institutions. All right, they're deploying the supercomputers. Here we go. There's also a manpower issue. Oh, jeez. There's a computer issue, then certainly we have a manpower issue. Not only do intelligence agencies need government scientists skilled enough to interpret complex genetic sequencing data and who have the proper security clearance, they also need to speak Mandarin, since the information is written in Chinese with a specialized vocabulary. Somebody call the intelligence agencies and let them know about this awesome app called Duolingo. It's a great app. You'll learn how to speak Mandarin in like 2 weeks. I love how in the world they're kind of like all these technologies to bring down the language barrier with all kinds of stuff, AI and machine learning and that kind of thing. But when it comes to the intelligence agency, they're undermanned. They need supercomputers. It's just like, what in the world is going on? All right. Quote, "Obviously, there are scientists who are security cleared," one source familiar with the intelligence told CNN. "But Mandarin-speaking ones who are cleared, that's a very small pool, and not just any scientists, but ones who specialize in bio. So you can see how this quickly becomes difficult." Officials, this is when you're supposed to get Chinese scientists take them captive and use them. Isn't that what people do in governments? Don't they use their own people against them? At least that's how they do it in the movies. I don't know. I guess America is we're just so ethically and morally good. We don't arrest or keep anybody in cages. Officials conducting the 90-day review hope this information will help answer the question of how the virus jumped from animals to humans. Oh, I thought it came from a lab, but now they're just presupposing it jumped from animals to humans. But the hyperlink to another CNN story. Unlocking that mystery is essential to ultimately determining whether COVID-19 leaked from a lab or was transmitted to humans from animals in the wild, multiple sources told CNN. I could have told you that. You don't need multiple sources. Unnamed sources, CNN. Investigators both inside and outside the government have long sought genetic data from 22,000 virus samples that were being studied at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. That data was removed from the internet by Chinese officials in September 2019. Very convenient time to move all that off, as if they knew that this was going to become public. September 2019, Chinese officials took all that data off the internet, and China has since refused to turn over this and other raw data on early coronavirus cases to the World Health Organization and the U.S. The question for investigators is whether the Wuhan Institute of Virology or other labs in China possessed virus samples or other contextual information that can help them trace the coronavirus's evolutionary history. Two scientists who study coronavirus told CNN they are skeptical that there is any genetic data either in the trench of 22,000 samples or any other database from the WIV that scientists don't already know about. Oh, these two scientists must be paid shills of the CCP. Quote, basically, in a 2020 research paper published in Nature, the WIV talked about all the sequencing they had up until a certain point in time. It's what most scientists, virologists believe. That's pretty much what they had, said Dr. Robert Gary, a virologist at the Tulane University School of Medicine. A source familiar with the U.S. investigation would neither confirm nor deny that any of the data pertaining to those 22,000 samples is among the intelligence is among what U.S. intelligence agencies are currently analyzing. No smoking gun. Sources familiar with the efforts say filling in that missing genetic link won't be enough to definitively prove whether the virus originated in the lab at Wuhan or first emerged naturally. I think that's kind of BS. Wouldn't virologists and biologists, biochemists, couldn't they look at something and be like, oh yeah, that looks natural, or like, oh yeah, that looks engineered? I don't know. Officials will still need to piece together other contextual clues to determine the true origins of the pandemic. But it is a critical puzzle piece that the Biden administration has been prioritizing. Quote, the most prized technical data in this context are genetic sequences, databases entries, and contextual information about the provenance of the samples and the time and context in which they are acquired, information people would use to place them in a narrative of the origins of SARS-CoV. One source familiar with the investigation told CNN. For one, senior intelligence officials still say that they are genuinely split between the two prevailing theories on the pandemic's origins, or some combination of both scenarios. CNN reported last month that senior Biden administration officials overseeing the 90-day review now believe that the theory that the virus accidentally escaped from a virus in Wuhan is at least as credible as the possibility that it emerged naturally in the wild, a dramatic shift from a year ago when Democrats publicly downplayed the so-called lab leak theory. All right, I don't need to get into the rest here, because, there's a little subheading section called Digging into the Science. But, I don't think they really source anything scientific here. They just say that. So, there you go. Exclusive. Intel agencies scour reams of genetic data from Wuhan lab in COVID origins hunt. This sounds like Biden, came out and said 90 days, give me 90 days to figure out if it's lab leak or natural. And the CCP was like, yes, 90 days, just enough time to keep him, sniffing his own tail, basically. And here's a big cloud database. Blah, here it is. Good luck. And then the intelligence agencies are like, we must deploy our supercomputers. And nothing. The supercomputers aren't giving any results. What's the deal? How come you're rolling out the supercomputers and they're not yielding any results? American intelligence. Maybe it's meant to not bring any kind of clarity to this issue, at least in terms of the public narrative. We all suspect that this thing was not only done on purpose, but brought to the public under a part of an agenda. So, all right, moving on. This is the reason why this episode is titled Doomsday Variant. Because here we are, Newsweek. U.S. COVID vaccination rate lagging as Doomsday Variant looms. I need a boom or something. Do I have a boom? All I have is the gong that I used to think that we used to thank producers. All right. Doomsday Variant looms. Coronavirus continues to spread across the U.S., with the country reporting more than 100,000 new daily cases on Tuesday, the second time it has done so in a week. The Delta variant continues to be at the forefront of this wave of infections, according to the CDC data. The variant accounted for more than 83% of new cases in the 2 weeks to July 31st. That figure rising to 93% when Delta substrains are included. And wasn't this 83%, 93% based on that study from Massachusetts with like 500 people infected and only like 4 or 5 hospitalized? Concerns over Delta has spurred the reintroduction of mask mandates in some areas, and some experts are warning that other restrictions could return. Meanwhile, Michael Osterholm, an epidemiologist who leads the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota, recently told Newsweek that a new and even more concerning doomsday variant, like a Delta on steroids, could potentially emerge. It's the Super Delta. It's the Doomsday Variant. The thing that's alarming about this, other than the ridiculousness of the name, is where do you go from here? What happens after the Doomsday Variant? Or the Doomsday Variant. What's after that? You can't, what? We're going to run into the same problem we have with our streakers. They're just going to come up with stuff. Oh, we need the Supernova Variant. We need the Apocalypse Variant. I mean, zombies, good. That's a good one. Zombie Variant. Quote, vaccines are the key. Preeti Malani, a physician and infectious disease researcher and chief health officer at the University of Michigan, said in the same article. And vaccine hesitancy is the obstacle. Oh, so clear. Vaccines are the key, and vaccine hesitancy is the obstacle. What, are we playing a video game? The U.S. continues to lag behind other Western nations in terms of its vaccine rollout, with the pace having slowed significantly. CDC data shows that 60.7% of the U.S. adult population has been fully vaccinated. That's pretty high. For the adult population. For the total population, the figure is just under 50%. That's still a lot. I mean, I guess the unvaccinated are still the majority, because if the under 50% is the population of America that is vaccinated, I mean, we're talking a clear 50-50 split here. You know? Wow. The UK, Spain, Germany, Canada, Israel, and others are all ahead of the US in terms of fully vaccinated populations, according to our World in Data project at the University of Oxford. Of course, Israel just had a pretty bad breakout as well. A New York Times analysis of historic CDC data suggests that the U.S. may take some time to catch up. On average, around 677,000 shots are going into arms every day at every moment. Every day at the moment. A lot in global terms, but well down on the U.S. peak of over 3.3 million. 3.3 million recorded in April. 4 COVID variants circulating in the U.S. have been classified as variants of concern, according to the CDC. These are the Alpha, Beta, Delta, and Gamma variants. I haven't heard much about the Gamma variant. Alpha, Beta, Delta, Gamma. U.S. health agencies deem a variant to be a VOC, or variant of concern, if there's evidence of an increase in transmissibility, evidence it can cause more severe disease, evidence it is resistant to vaccines or antibodies, and evidence it is more difficult to detect. There are a few more variants in the U.S., such as Lambda and Iota, but they do not currently meet the VOC criteria. What are the symptoms of Delta? Symptoms between COVID variants do not appear to vary significantly. However, it has been suggested, not proved, it's been suggested that there are some differences with Delta, which is the most common variant. Experts have previously told Newsweek the variant is associated with more reports of a runny nose than the original strain of COVID. Shut it down! People have runny noses. Professor Tim Spector of the UK's Zoe COVID symptom study told the BBC in June that Delta could feel, quote, more like a bad cold in young people. Because maybe it's a bad cold. Huh? Tim Spector, what do you think? What do you think? In general, the symptoms of COVID include a fever, cough, fatigue, shortness of breath, body aches, headaches, loss of taste or smell, sore throat, runny nose, nausea, and diarrhea. No death? Death is not a symptom anymore? Hooray! Hey, look at that. Newsweek saying by omission, that don't worry, you can't die from COVID anymore. Death is not a symptom. What is the Delta Plus variant, and is it more dangerous? Delta Plus is a subvariant of Delta and has been detected in various countries, including the U.S. It is characterized by a mutation known as K417N. We kind of covered this in the last episode, so let me get through here quickly. Little more is known about Delta Plus. A Public Health England report from July 23rd said preliminary results on vaccine resistance were reassuring, but added that more testing was needed. Oh, okay. This is the cautiously optimistic, but you must be cautious talk, right? All right. Colin Angus, a public health policy modeler and analyst in the UK, told the Washington Post on August 3rd, quote, to date, there's no clear evidence that it conveys enough of a benefit to the virus to allow it to dominate the original Delta variant. And that's the end of the article. I wanted to know more about the Doomsday strain. Where's Doomsday? Oh, what a letdown. Come on, CNN. You tease people with the Doomsday variant. Fake news. Not true. These people are lying.
Liar!
CNN. Their Doomsday headline. It's ridiculous. All right, I'm not that mad. I just think it's pretty lame. All right, moving on here. This is from the National Pulse, which I think is a pretty right-wing outlet here. But it says, scientific journal paper suggests making it a federal hate crime to criticize Fauci.
You do not know what you are talking about.
What? How do you even argue that in a scientific paper? Dr. Hotez. Oh, hold on. Am I supposed to read this? Okay. A scientific journal article authored by Professor Peter Hotez, a frequent guest on corporate media networks, called... there you go. He's like a CIA asset right there. called to, quote, extend federal hate crime protections for scientists facing criticism from alleged far-right extremists, including National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease Director Anthony Fauci. Really? You're going to label everybody that criticizes scientists as far-right extremists? Oh, talk about a scientific dictatorship. Dr. Hotez, who himself has been funded by Anthony Fauci's NIAID since 1993. Oh, there's no conflict of interest there. This man has only been making his money from Fauci's direction. Offered the robust defense of scientists, including Fauci and EcoHealth Alliance President Peter Daszak, in a recent paper, Mounting Anti-Science Aggression in the U.S. Let's take a peek of that before we go on here. I want to take a look at this paper. All right, so this is Mounting Anti-Science Aggression in the U.S. PLOS Biology. Do they publish like sociological papers in scientific journals? I guess it's Bachelor of Science. But I didn't know that sociological type of stuff like this is included as in scientific journals. I thought they were categorized differently, but anyway. It's very political. You know, you can't. It's ridiculous that they say, and I know people have made this point over and over again. But they say, like, oh, you're politicizing the virus, and you're politicizing the pandemic. And then the people saying that are the most guilty of doing that. You know? Okay, historically, such regimes viewed scientists as enemies of the state. In his 1941 essay, Science in the Totalitarian State, Waldemar Kempfert outlines details using the examples of Nazism under Hitler, fascism under Mussolini, and Marxism and Leninism. For example, under Stalin, the study of genetics and relativity physics were treated as dangerous Western theories and potentially in conflict with official social philosophies of the state. All right, let's get back to the article. Sorry, I'm sure they quote stuff from this journal here. Quote, there is a troubling new expansion of anti-science aggression in the U.S. It's arising from far-right extremism, the paper published in the peer-reviewed Public Library of Science Biology journal begins. Quote, a band of ultra-conservative members of the U.S. Congress and other public officials with far-right leanings are waging organized and seemingly well-coordinated attacks against prominent U.S. biological scientists. In parallel, conservative news outlets repeatedly and purposefully promote disinformation designed to portray key American scientists as enemies, it reiterates. I love this graphic. They have a graphic here where there's a kind of a rounded square that says conservative news outlets, and then another square that says U.S. Congress, far right, America first. And then another square that says conservative public intellectuals. Is that what we are? Are we a conservative public intellectual? I don't know. And they have arrows pointing out of each of these boxes at this circle that says aggression against science or U.S. scientists. How long did Mr. Hotez spend on putting that graphic together? Are they using Photoshop? Was he using Paint? Maybe Excel? I don't know. He links the alleged assault of scientists to a broader attempt of supporters of the America First movement to bring about a modern-day authoritarian regime. Oh, so at this point it's so frustrating because the hypocrisy, the doublespeak is just out of control. Does Dr. Hotez not realize that their whole concept here of making it basically illegal or a federal hate crime to criticize Fauci is authoritarian? Does he not realize that? No, he doesn't. Or if he does, he's getting paid well to not. Prior to and this is a quote from Hotez here. in the paper, I suppose. Prior to 2021, a program of anti-science disinformation that dismissed the severity of the COVID-19 pandemic was aggressively pursued by a White House committed to policies of America First. The America First element of the far right focuses on nativism, anti-immigration, and a foreign policy built around strong military buildup and deterrence in confrontation with China. A darker view links it to voter suppression and loyalty tests to the former president that question the veracity of the 2020 presidential election. Harvard University political scientist Stephen Levitsky, the co-author of How Democracies Die, point out how these elements converge to form a modern-day authoritarian regime seeking to concentrate power among a selected few while limiting the reach of opposition groups. Oh, I'm getting angry. I'm getting angry. What in the world are these people doing? They are selecting the few to say things while limiting the reach of opposition groups. Or just opposing views. The hypocrisy is off the charts. Oh, get out of here. Pop-up ad. Hotez even draws comparison to the intentions of the Trump administration and its America First allies to those of Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, Joseph Stalin, Marxists and Leninists. Yeah, we read that little section there. But I mean, oh my gosh. You know, it's that whole what is it? Solinsky thing where you basically call out what you're doing and blame it on the other people, the other side of the aisle. In response, Hotez calls for a public statement in defense of Fauci and other COVID-19 scientists from, quote, President of the United States together with science leaders at the federal agencies, and even floats that, quote, another possibility is to extend federal hate crime protections. The July 28th paper also highlights the actions of individuals, including Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who they love to just use as a punching bag for anything that's non-compliant to the official narrative, who introduced the Fire Fauci Act and other House Republicans tracing COVID-19's origin to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Quote, despite evidence pointing to spillover from a viral infection in bats to additional mammals and ultimately humans, I thought CNN just said that that's not true. The verdict is still out. But I guess this paper, this doctor, he just knows. He knows. Despite evidence pointing to spillover from a viral infection in bats to additional mammals and ultimately humans accounting for previous coronavirus epidemics, the hearings took on a sinister tone, pointing fingers at virologists both in the U.S. and China, the paper posits, while citing study on COVID-19's origins authored by a self-described consultant for the Chinese Communist Party. Hotez also defends EcoHealth Alliance President Peter Daszak, whose failure to disclose his conflict with the Wuhan Institute of Virology led to his recusal from the Lancet COVID-19 Commission for harassment and stalking by the far-right media. So, wow, I mean, again, it's just so ridiculous how they would propose something like this. Meanwhile, they're the ones being a lot more Stalinistic or, Hitlerian, if you want to call it that. I don't know. Why don't we just let the science speak for itself, right, Fauci?
Science is truth.
That's what I thought. But I guess if you write a scientific paper as a socio-political essay and have it peer-reviewed and, oh yes, the science checks out. The science checks out. People criticizing Fauci, they are committing a hate crime. Very scientific. All right, what's next here? Oh, good. More just nonsense coming from The Atlantic. Unvaccinated people need to bear the burden. Right. Unvaxxed people, you need to bear the burden. Here's what it says. When you go to the airport, you see two kinds of security rules. Some apply equally to everyone. No one can carry weapons through the TSA checkpoint, but other protocols divide passengers into categories according to how much of a threat the government thinks they pose. Which is, right now, it's everybody is a threat unless you abide by us. If you submit to heightened security in advance, TSA pre-check lets you go through security without taking off your shoes. A no-fly list keeps certain people off the plane entirely. Not everyone poses an equal threat. Rifling through the bags of every business traveler and patting down every preschooler and octogenarian would waste the TSA's time and needlessly burden many passengers. The same principle applies to limiting the spread of the coronavirus. The number of COVID-19 cases keeps growing, even though remarkably safe, effective vaccines are widely available, at least to adults. Many public agencies are responding by reimposing masking rules on everyone. But at this stage of the pandemic, tougher universal restrictions are not the solution to continual viral spread. While flying, vaccinated people should no longer carry the burden for unvaccinated people. The White House has rejected a nationwide vaccine mandate, a sweeping suggestion that the Biden administration could not easily enact if it wanted to. Yeah, thank goodness there's this thing called the Constitution that makes it very, very difficult. And the process that we have in this country that makes it a little more. We don't live in a authoritarian, totalitarian state. The author of Atlantic here, what you are calling for is just that. But a no-fly list for unvaccinated adults is an obvious step that the federal government should take. Really? Oh, it's going down like that, is it? It will help limit the risk of transmission at destinations where unvaccinated people travel, and by setting norms that restrict certain privileges to vaccinated people, will also help raise the stagnant vaccination rates that are keeping both the economy and society from fully recovering. Oh, it's the unvaccinated people that's holding down the economy and society from fully recovering. Oh, I thought it was the leaders, the local government leaders that are doing that. Guess not. Flying is not a right, and the case for restricting it to vaccinated people is straightforward. The federal government is the sole entity that can regulate the terms and conditions of airline safety. And although air filtration systems and mask requirements make transmission of the coronavirus unlikely during any given passenger flight, infected people can spread it when they leave the airport and take off their mask. The whole point of international travel bans is to curb infections in the destination country. To protect itself, the U.S. still has many such restrictions in place. Beyond limiting the virus's flow from hotspot to the rest of the country, allowing only vaccinated people on domestic flights will change minds too. But I thought the science, according to the CDC, showed that even if you are vaccinated, you can spread the virus. Polls suggested that vaccine holdouts have a variety of motivations. Oh, good. Polls. Super scientific. Genuine concerns about side effects, skepticism of shots not yet fully approved by the FDA, a general aversion to vaccines, a desire to stick it to the libs, a reluctance to decide even now. In a recent New York Times and Kaiser Family Foundation poll, 46% of unvaccinated people who consider themselves in the wait-and-see category disclosed that they would stop waiting if they could get a shot from their personal physician. 44% agree that FDA's full approval of the vaccines would motivate them, and 49% said that a prohibition on airline travel would get them closer to their shots. Tellingly, 11% of those adamantly opposed to a vaccination would also be motivated by a travel ban. A larger effect for these respondents than full FDA approval for the ability to get vaccinated at their doctor's office would have. Okay, so they're saying, let's ban them. That'll work better than having their doctor give them the shots. Let's threaten them more and take away more of their freedoms. More than any other recitation of statistics about vaccines' benefits, or yet another appeal to the common good, the deprivation of movement will win over doubters. Gosh, the way this article is written is so disturbing. It's just so disgusting. Because they're basically pushing on this sentiment that we've been tracking for a while now, that if you're unvaccinated, you are a danger to society, even if you're perfectly healthy. If you're not vaccinated, you're a threat to public health. It's just not true. And it's disturbing that people like this would write an article in The Atlantic, a well-published, big outlet, and allow stuff like this to be said. I mean, I get it. At this point, it's all propaganda. It's gotten pushed out pretty far, but it's just ridiculous. More than any other reaction of statistics about vaccines' benefit or yet another appeal to the common good, the deprivation of movement will win over doubters. You don't know that. You have any science to back up your little statement there? The deprivation of movement will win over doubters. It's just so, I don't know, it's disgusting. Some unvaccinated Americans in areas where vaccination seekers face scorn among their peer groups may even be happy to have an excuse to protect themselves. The public debate about making vaccination a precondition for travel, employment, and other activities has described this approach as vaccine mandates, a term that, to conservative critics, suggests that unvaccinated people are being ordered around arbitrarily. Yeah. Not just conservatives, just anybody who's not vaccinated. They're just being bossed around. What is actually going on? Oh, okay, thanks for the clarity. What is actually going on, mostly, all right, what is actually going on mostly is that institutions are shifting burdens to unvaccinated people, denying them access to certain spaces, requiring them to take regular COVID-19 tests, charging them for the cost of that testing, rather than imposing greater burdens on everyone. Americans still have a choice to go unvaccinated, but that means giving up on certain societal benefits. Wow. Nobody has a constitutional right to attend the Lion King on Broadway or work at Disney or Walmart. Employees and entertainment venues are realizing that they can operate more easily without the hassle of planning around unvaccinated employees and customers. Amid a global health crisis, people who defy public health guidance are not and do not deserve to be a protected class. Holy cow! Are you kidding me, Atlantic? Do I even need to read? I think I'm going to get too mad reading the rest of it. There's only a couple more paragraphs. For the privilege of flying, Americans already give up a lot. Yes, because of 9/11 and the Patriot Act. We disclose our personal information, toss our water bottles, extinguish our cigarette butts, and lock our guns in checked luggage. For vaccinated people, having to show proof of vaccination when flying will be a minor inconvenience. The Biden administration could give unvaccinated Americans a brief window in which to get shots. A travel rule that took effect by October would cover those who hope to visit relatives during the holiday season. So sinister!
Shameful generation!
That is so messed up. It's like, oh yeah, let's make sure that, if we do it by October so that they can't travel to meet their families. Oh, that'll do it. That'll make them get a jab. Get out of here. Vaccine verification and legitimate exceptions for age or pre-existing health conditions can be part of airline databases, as are other security features. The current reliance on paper vaccination cards makes for a clumsy system, but better public and private sector systems are likely to emerge. Like I said earlier, it's going to happen, folks. Public and private sector systems, better public and private sector systems, are likely to emerge if employers, entertainment venues, and the TSA all seek to verify individuals' status. Some people may try to lie and cheat their way around a TSA requirement, but violating federal aviation safety measures is generally a crime. Oh, okay. Yep, they're just trying to make us either criminal or compliant slaves. Relying so heavily on mask requirements to protect the flying public has had a distinct downside. The duty of preventing viral transmission has fallen to gate agents and flight attendants who must enforce mask rules, and whom angry passengers have in turn subjected to harassment. Moreover, masks can provide protection only during a flight, but for passengers, the whole point of flying is to take part in life outside the destination airport's grounds. By requiring proof of vaccination for flights, the U.S. government will better protect society. It's not your duty, government. The government's duty is not to protect society. It's to maintain the Constitution. All right. And, okay, so by requiring proof of vaccination for flights, the U.S. government will better protect society and get out of the business of helping the coronavirus proliferate in another place. People who still want to wait and see about the vaccines can continue doing so. They just can't keep pushing all the costs on everyone else. This is... my blood is boiling reading this article. Let's learn a little bit about this author. Juliette Kayyem, a former assistant secretary for Homeland Security under President Barack Obama, is the faculty chair of the Homeland Security program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. She is the author of Security Mom, an unclassified guide to protecting our homeland and your home. All right, so former Obama here. Why is it that everyone in the Obama era just, because if you compare the Republican-Democrat talking points, the sentiments and stuff like that, you go back 20 years, there were a lot more agreements, especially because, they were all kind of being paid by the same banker types. There was less of a pinning, the right-left pinning. But now, especially since Obama, man, are these people radical and anti-freedom, anti-American. It's just ridiculous. Imagine this type of sentiment right around the year 2001, around the 9/11 stuff. People are traumatized by that event, but because of that trauma, the Patriot Act passed, and, that was a big chunk taken out of people's freedoms in the United States. But even then, I think if you said, if you would have suggested that, hey, in 20 years, they're going to be pushing for the unvaccinated people to, first off, if you criticize scientific heads of, NIAID, you will be considered a federal, or you'll be considered committing federal hate crime. And also, if you're unvaccinated, you can't travel. You will be put on the no-fly list. Yes, I don't know why there's like an auto AC thing happening, and every once in a while the hissing starts, and I apologize. There's nothing I can really do about it. I can try to turn my mic down a touch. But ever since they went into the walls here and they switched out the AC unit, I noticed that people are complaining about the high pitch. So, yeah, there's not... I tried to move the vents and stuff, and there's not much I can do. Let me try... And this is just for the... It could be for the podcast audience, too, but I might be able to apply some EQ on here to see if it might help. Give me one moment. Sorry, as I do this on the fly. Let's see. Gain, noise suppression, expander. There's no EQ on this. Invert polarity. No, don't want to do that. All right, come on, OBS. You don't have EQ? All right. I don't know. It's just, it kind of is what it is today. I'm sorry, guys. It's just is what it is. I do have a sound gate on, so if I'm not talking, you probably don't hear it. But let's see. Maybe I can raise the floor on the noise gate. Check, check, check. Check, check. It's probably not going to do anything. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Kind of is what it is at this point. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break here and thank some people, and then we'll have some politics stuff, some of the stories that I missed in the last episode, as well as some other just egregious... If there wasn't an egregious day of stories, today is a day. It is just ridiculous. All right, let's take a break.
It's break time! Come on!
Okay, we're going to take a quick break for this episode 372. I'm not going to go on a big long rant about the system in which we have implemented for our model, which is the value for value model, which basically is that we provide the content for free and we provide the value, and you guys as an audience get to decide whether you see the value or not, and you can return the value through your time, talent, or treasure. And if you do so, you are a producer. You are producing the show. And this is a real title. It's not just some cutesy thing. You can put it on your CV or your resume. If you've produced episodes of Canary Cry News Talk, you can let people know that you've produced a show. And it's a real thing. So it's something that we decided to do because, you know, we had the opportunity. We still have opportunities all the time. We get emails from people who want to advertise on our platform, and clearly they don't listen to the show. They just send out an email with a little placeholders and, hey, you know, change this name out for this one or whatever, and you know, see if we can advertise on their platform. When we will not allow that. We will not sell your attention for our financial gain. That's not kosher. I don't think that's proper or ethical. So we decided to go with the value for value model, which was created by the No Agenda podcast, Adam Curry, who is the co-inventor of the RSS feed, and John C. Dvorak, who's a tech guy. By the way, on No Agenda, in the last episode, if you listen to it, Adam Curry started reading Revelation 13. Just kind of like, whoa, this is kind of cool hearing scripture on No Agenda, because, you know, they're kind of a secular show. But then Adam kept saying Revelations. Read the Revelations. And then John C. Dvorak, who I guess is a Catholic boy, was like, I recommend don't read it. I was like, all right, okay. What do you think? You know, not much more I expect from them in terms of scripture and that side of things. But anyway, regardless, that is where we got the model. We got permission from them, you know, because we were like, hey, we don't want to rip them off per se, but I emailed Adam Curry, was like, and told him, hey, we're thinking about doing the value for value model with knights and dames and all of it, and producers. And not only was he like, hey, rip us off as much as you want, but he was like, please do it. He said, do it. We need more podcasts doing it, because the advertising industry is destroying the integrity of content, the integrity of people's ability to share their opinions, even if they're not popular opinions. The fact that we can share whatever we want, well, not wherever we want at the moment, with, you know, My Face Like the Sun YouTube channel being taken down and stuff. But at least on the RSS feed side of things, we can say what we want, we can share our opinions, and no one can censor us, because no one can cancel us per se, because our finances aren't tied to advertisers who might have an opinion about that or another thing or whatever. So that's how we operate, and we're grateful for all of our producers, all of our knights and dames. Those are people who have supported the show with over $1,000 over the course of time. It could happen all at once, or, you know, over the years and months. If you've supported the show and have tallied over $1,000, you are eligible to be a knight or a dame. So today we're going to start things off with Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. And there you can become a supporter of the show, a producer of the show, with your patronage. We don't have anybody from the CCNT Patreon, but we do have somebody from the Canary Cry Radio Patreon. That's patreon.com/CanaryCry.Radio. Our old show, you know, the one where we interviewed a bunch of people, including the late Natalina, and others. And on the Canary Cry Radio Patreon, we have one new producer, and that person is Kayla AB. Thank you very much, Kayla. She came in at 1515, and we appreciate the producership there. And I also wanted to read a note from another patron producer on Canary Cry Radio. We missed the note, I think it was 1 or 2 episodes ago, from an Unquiet Soul. Excuse me. An Unquiet Soul. The note read, "Good morning and God bless you, Gons and Basil. I just wanted to send a quick message and thank you for all the hard work you both do for the kingdom of God. I've been listening to Canary Cry Radio and Canary Cry News Talk for the past couple years now, and I'm so glad to have a news channel that is grounded in a biblical worldview, praying for you, your families, and of course, your kitties." Thank you very much. Appreciate that from an Unquiet Soul. Now, I know people don't always like Patreon because they have a tendency to kick people out who may be labeled, white supremacist or something like that. They've shut people down in the past who don't share some of their worldview. So we have other options in terms of your treasure in producing the show, and that is CanaryCryRadio.com/support. CanaryCryRadio.com/support. And hold on. A couple new ones came in. Let me add these real quick. Is there? Okay. Sorry. I have to do some of this admin stuff while talking, which is always kind of hard. But I think it's important to do here on some of these. Yeah, that's the one thing that's really... I think people don't get that having 2 people run the show, like a co-host situation, a lot of times Basil or I, whoever's talking, whoever's not talking, isn't just sitting there. We're always doing something. We're always doing either like accounting back here or, clicking through the next stories or preparing something in the show. Always something going on, looking at the chat or whatever it is. So, let's see. And then, sorry, there's a couple that came in. I need to add it to the list before we get going here. Whew. All right. Sorry about that. This is part of the issue of having just one person running the show. Okay. What's the name here? Double checking. Okay, and double checking amount. And note. All right. Okay. I think I'm ready for thanking PayPal producers. And by the way, if I miss anybody here today, just send us a note. If you're a new recurring producer or something like that, and we don't mention your name, just send us a note, and we'll make it right in the next episode. Another one. Okay, hold on. And they're on a streak. I have to look that up. I will look it up when I get to that name. All right. Sorry. Here we go. First up, we have our first executive producer for episode 372.
You have now reached executive level.
It's Bush Protector. Thank you, Bush Protector. Appreciate you coming back in with the producership. Good to see you. And thank you for the executive producership. Next up, we have Lady Bird's Hatbird Ashery. Sorry, I had an issue with that one. Lady Bird's Hatberdashery. Thank you very much. She came in with a note here. Hello, Canary Cry family. Thank you, Basil and Gons, for all the info. Many were asking, throat thing. Many were asking about the Benex Now test kit. The research leads back to Rockefeller Foundation, which is all we need to know. Blessings. Thank you very much. See, that's part of it. You guys that skip over the break here and thanking producers, there's always little bits of content hidden throughout. It's not supposed to be just thanking the producers. It's also they provide content. So, the Benex Now test kit, I hadn't heard much about this. Saw some people sharing it on social media, but Didn't really look into it, but for those who did, good for you. Looks like it leads back to the Rockefeller Foundation, which is not surprising whatsoever. Thank you very much, Ladybird's Hatberdashery. Why do I have a hard time saying that word? Next up, Sarah G. Sarah G came in with $38, and she says, been listening to you guys for about a year now. I'm the custodian at a small school in western Oklahoma, and having y'all come through my headphones helps me get through the day. I donated $38 because Thursday, August 5th, was my 38th birthday. Love y'all and keep up the good work. Oh, thank you very much. And Sarah G, happy birthday.
It's my birthday. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday to me.
And welcome to age 38. That means you were born in 1983. Good year to be born. I'm also a fellow 1983 human. Human, born in 1983. So weird. Things were so different in the 80s, huh? All right. Next up. Happy birthday, Sarah G. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the producership. Next up, producer Mary V. Oh, and by the way, if I'm forgetting anybody's streaks, I apologize. Again, the streak thing is Basil's main thing there, and I don't always do a great job of keeping the streak thing with people. So, again, if I miss the streak, let me know. We'll fix it on Monday. Mary V came in with $33.22. She is an Illuminati shill. And she says, hey, my best buddy Basil, who's not here. His eyes are just doing googly pupil things. And my favorite Asian provocateur, Gons. It's not often that I have the financial means to support you, but the Father blessed me this month. Thank you for what you do without the use of fear porn. God bless you both. Oh, thank you very much, Mary V. And I appreciate that. I know Basil does too. But that's something really important, I think, in this time is, there are a lot of channels and podcasts out there, and even the ones that are very tame and, conservative and stuff like that, they still push a little bit of fear, and I understand that there is, things can be scary and bad. Like today, we covered a whole bunch of stories that are like, ugh, this is not good. But, I think if you're always peddling fear, the times when you really need to warn, it gets kind of, it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? It loses its impact. But also, I've noticed that people push this like extreme hopium too. It's not just like fear porn. There's like hope porn too. There's a lot of that going on, especially this past year as we saw Trump leave office. There was a lot of stuff out there that was like, hey, Trump's going to do this or do that. He's going to save the republic and that kind of talk. Which, it's tough. It's tough to be a little more objective, but you have to be, because ultimately the only thing we should fear truly is the Lord. The one that can not just destroy your body, but take your soul. It's true. That's what it says in the scriptures. It's not even the Antichrist. You don't even have to fear the Antichrist, because or the beast system or anything like that. You don't really fear it, because we're not given a spirit of fear. We're given a spirit of the sound mind, love, and that's. I hope that we are able to relay that message as we cover the news here, because that is something both Basil and I find very important in this time. Okay, moving on from one Mary to another Mary. This is Mary K. Thank you very much, Mary K. She comes in with $33, another Illuminati shill, and she says, been listening for years, really love the show. Thought it time to start producing. Hope to contribute more in the future. Headed to Estacada with my sister. There you go. All right, the Estacada meetup, which is, I think, tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check CanaryCry.Meetups.com. Oregon Meetup, August 7th. If you're interested, if you're in the Northern Oregon, Southern Washington area in Estacada, go ahead and contact Shield Maiden for Christ. Maid Servant of Christ 88 at protonmail.com. You can email her directly from the hyperlink at CanaryCry.Meetups.com. So there you go. All right. So we got at least 2 there. I don't think we've gotten a report of how many are planning to come, but we'll get to Kimberly in a second here, who's organizing the event. But thank you very much, Mary Kay, and awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing the report from Estacada. Next up, we have producer Lydia G. And Lydia G did not have a note, so thank you very much for your producership. Next, we have producer Rebecca B. And Rebecca is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
And she comes in with $11.11, and her streak is 11. I think that was planned. Well done, Rebecca B. Thank you very much for your producership. Next up, we have Sir Casey, the Shield Knight. And Sir Casey is on a super streak. 41 episodes in a row, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 41. Let me double check here. Yeah, 41 for Sir Casey, the Shield Knight. Wow. Setting the standard. Setting the bar. Reminds me, I was watching high jump at the Olympics. Those people can jump super high. Next up, we have James H. And James H is on a streak. 8 episodes in a row. Thank you very much, producer James H. I think he had to restart a streak too, so he's been doing well, bringing it back around. Good job. Next up, we have producer Kayla AB. And I believe this is the same Kayla that came in on Patreon for Canary Cry Radio. She also produced a show through PayPal, so thank you very much, Kayla. I hope I'm saying that right. Kayla, or Kiala? Kealah. Kiala. Kiala. Help us. Help me. Help me. I am ESL, English as a second language. Not anymore, but I grew up ESL. All right, thank you very much, Kayla. Thank you for your producership. And we're going to move on here. Next up, we have producer Emily T. Emily T comes in. Oh, let me double check, make sure Emily T is not a streaker, or that sounds weird. I don't think she is on a streak. Okay. Emily T, what did your note say? Your note said, Basil's dream last episode jogged my own dream recall. My kids' school were giving WACCINEs to the kids without parental permission. Suffice to say, I marched down there and started doing a little jabby of my own, but not with needles. That's awesome. Thank you, Emily T. Yeah, that's the weird thing about dreams. There's all the stuff happens, but it's really the emotions that you feel that make it feel so real. Is, you have those emotions of panic or I don't know, fight or flight or things of that nature. I always have that. And I always had, when I was growing up, I had not a reoccurring dream. It was a reoccurring theme of being chased. And I was always able to fly in my dreams. But that has not happened in a while. And I think it was because I used to swim a lot and I was in the water a lot. So I know what it felt like to traverse kind of in liquid and move around and push myself around with my hands and stuff like that. So in my dream, whenever I would fly, it was the same thing. I'd have to kind of pedal or paddle, I guess, not pedal, paddle the air to move around. So anyway, interesting. But yes, thank you very much, Emily T. And yeah, I think a lot of people are having dreams about the jabby. Hopefully you didn't run into somebody, like a real teacher or something, and jabby with your fists, and then you see them the next day and they have a black eye or something. Oh, like a movie plot. All right, thank you very much, Emily T. Moving on, we have Young Min J. And Young Min, if I'm not mistaken, is on a streak. 2 episodes in a row, and he actually came in with 3 separate producerships, and each $10, $5, $5. And each came with a note. And I've actually been emailing him back and forth a little bit the last day or so. Not even the last day, maybe like the last night. But here are the notes in sequence. People are waking up to the New World Order. As more chaos is created on the world, it will ultimately be used by the Antichrist to deceive even the elect. The false awakening will lead Christians to physically, quote-unquote, rebel. Only follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. The Antichrist will come as a savior, the false Christ, when everyone, even non-believers, are waking up to the obvious evil that is the New World Order. Will the Antichrist be a part of the New World Order? The answer is no. New World Order is the harlot that the beast will destroy. Satan will put the world through a trauma using the New World Order tyranny to initiate them into the false light mystery school, a imitation of baptism of Holy Spirit. When the Antichrist comes, he will be seen as the Christ. Let us not be deceived and only trust Jesus. So, yeah, I've been kind of going back and forth with him on emails, and he points to the, I think it's E511 Ministries, whose stuff I really like. I like his videos. He's been doing it for years. He brings up good points about the New World Order, being the harlot and the beast being the false light, and people are buying into the false light, and ultimately it destroys the New World Order as part of the deception. And what I've been telling Gyun Min here is that the sentiments I agree with. I totally agree that there is this like false hope being promoted out there. That was part of the whole QAnon movement. It was super new agey. It was Great Awakening. It was, hey, we're waking up to this system. We're going to tear it down. But similar to the whole pedo ring takedown, I've been saying for a long time that, hey, don't buy into it because you're actually helping the process along even more by being a opposition to it. That you're participating in the divide and conquer. It doesn't matter which team you're on. You can be on the New World Order team or you can be on the false light team. Now, the part where I'd start disagreeing a little bit with E511's take on things, and again, these are like details that I don't think really matter in the big scheme of things. But just to hash it out briefly here, is that number one, in the Bible, the harlot, Mystery Babylon, is clearly, this is just based on my study, and I got, Chris White was the first one to introduce me to it, but everything he published in his book and everything else, it checks out in my mind anyway when I study it. The harlot, Mystery Babylon, is Jerusalem. It's referred to as a city. Revelation 17:18 clearly says, the woman you saw is the great city. It's a city. Okay, it's not just a system. It's a city. So that's one part of it. And there are different scriptural proofs that make it solid. That when they talk about the harlot, it's talking about Jerusalem, or eschatological Jerusalem, to be more clearer. Not modern day or current Jerusalem per se, eschatological Jerusalem, when the Antichrist figure will control it. I know a lot of people think Rome, and maybe there's a Roman element to it in terms of the control power system and everything else, but if you look at the scripture, and again, I recommend everybody have the book here. I've gone through this thing so many times. It's called Mystery Babylon. When Jerusalem Embraces the Antichrist, an exposition of Revelation 17 and 18. And this is a book written by Chris White. You can get it on Amazon, I think. But he lays it out. I mean, it is airtight. It is very difficult after you read through this and absorb it to start saying that, like, oh, Mystery Babylon is something else. Because anybody who uses the arguments of, like, oh, the seven hills or oh, the scarlet purple and all that, they're using like one or two scriptures to identify Mystery Babylon and equate it to Rome, where when there's a lot more to it. There's just if you take every scripture that talks about it, it's clear, notwithstanding that in Revelation 17:18, it's super clear. The woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. Okay, so here my point here is that, based on what I understand eschatology and how it will play out, young Min here, he's not wrong that the Antichrist will come looking like the Savior, pretending like the Savior. But I think it's going to be very, very specific to Jerusalem. And I think it's because the Antichrist, who will come as the Messiah, who will appear as the Jewish Messiah, is going to attempt to fulfill the messianic prophecies, the millennial kingdom. It's prophesied in the Old Testament, like in Isaiah and stuff. It talks about the rivers, and there's just all these passages. I think in Zechariah, there's passages there too of how the millennial kingdom is going to be, how it's going to be, the geography of it and everything. And I think the Antichrist is going to make it seem like he is fulfilling those prophecies. But he's not. There's going to be one element of it that shows that it's not really the Messiah. And that's where the Antichrist, the beast system and everything else, you can't make war with him. And, it goes into that whole eschatology. So to my understanding, that's where things are. And so you don't necessarily need to assign like, oh, okay, the harlot is the New World Order, the beast is the false light, and, the beast destroys the harlot because that's part of the deceptive takedown of the New World Order. Maybe, but, I don't think you need to do that to really get a grasp on how the scriptures lay out the greater sequence of events leading up to Jesus' second coming. It's one of those exercises where it might make sense to us now, like in our current milieu, assign this to this and assign this to that. But it's just not. People have mistakenly created doctrine based on that through the years, I think. I mean, you've seen it. People predict dates and stuff like that. And I think especially if you look at the Reformation period, there are good arguments to be made from the 1500s that Rome is the Antichrist, that I can't remember who exactly the Pope was at the time. I don't remember his name. I'm not fresh on all that info. But I've looked at all of it because those are the same people that say that what is it? Futurism, like all futurism. Anybody who suggests that Bible prophecy is going to unfold in the future are all buying into a Jesuit lie. That whole narrative exists out there too, and there's just big problems with that. I can't hash it all out right now because we're in a break, and it's not really about that. But I just want to mention that because I agree with the sentiments. I agree with the sentiments that there is a New World Order system. A lot of people are opposing it. And yes, there is a paradigm, the divide and conquer taking place here. And certainly the Antichrist can rise as part of it to deceive Christians into thinking that they're part of the taking down of the New World Order, a physical rebellion, all that stuff. But if you read the scriptures, very clear, Revelation 13, the saints are conquered. Doesn't matter what side you're on, the saints are conquered. And in the model that E511 presents, there's some issues there because in their model, it would mean that the saints are basically the harlot if you're killing Christians. So there's a problem there. So anyway, I don't want to pick on him too much because I'm not. Again, the sentiments overall make sense. I think it's okay to talk about things in that way, to not be deceived. Trust in Jesus. Amen. 100%. But there's just things that I think people can study. And don't believe me. Go do your own research. Go do your own study. Go do your own prayer about this stuff. But over what I've come to understand in the last decade of really looking at the Book of Revelation and looking at the rest of the Bible, how does it jive all together? And to me, it's fairly clear that the Bible teaches that the Antichrist, man of sin, will present himself as the long-awaited Jewish Messiah who will fulfill the prophecies of the Old Testament. Or no, I'm sorry, will attempt to fulfill as a counterfeit. So I'm getting a note here from Vane91. John from E511 also believes that Jerusalem is Mystery Babylon. Okay, there you go. Perfect. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm getting it third hand here from Youngming J. So, well, maybe the details again might be a fun discussion to have there. But thank you very much, Youngming J, for the producership. Appreciate it. I think these are good discussions to have. They're in-house discussions, and certainly there's. And the other point I wanted to make is that this idea that, because I think Youngming sent us another note saying that he used to think transhumanism and all that was part of the beast system. Now he believes it's part of the New World Order system that's going to be taken down because so many people are against transhumanism and all that. But my point was like, yes, sure, I don't have a problem with that per se, but you got to realize there are a lot of people that are super pro-transhumanism. Even Christians. There's a Christian transhumanist thing. There's a Mormon transhumanist association. There are religious people who are super pro-transhumanist, and a lot of the secular scientists, technocrats, they are pouring millions, billions, millions, billions, or here you go. Billions, perhaps even trillions into living forever, uploading our mind into a machine, all that stuff. Who cares if it's even possible or not? They are moving in that direction. So, it's just one of those things where, yeah, everyone can be deceived in that one direction, but that's only if you're looking at it from a very small group perspective. There are a lot more people who are just going with the flow of the unfolding world control system than there are fighting it. Yeah, more people are waking up and people are fighting it for sure. I'm not even arguing against that. But okay, so hold on. Now Vane here. Now, do you want to know? He doesn't say that at all. He knows the saints are Christians, not the harlot. I think you may need to watch his videos to understand. Okay, so again, I'm not saying that I'm not relaying his direct interpretation here. I'm saying that's the problem with what Youngming was mentioning to me, that the New World Order is the harlot. Okay, we're getting into the weeds here. All right, I'm going to move on before we spend way too much time on this. I know people are curious about it, but I'll be clear later on about it in another, maybe I'll write up something or something. All right, moving on. Thank you very much, Youngming J. Appreciate it. Let's keep the discussion going. Big Tank. Big Tank is on a streak. 6 episodes in a row, and that means that he is on fire.
He's on fire!
This is Rubber Ducky. What's your 1020? Over.
Chug you. We got us a convoy. Over.
Big Tank says, was rolling through PA today and listening to the last episode, and I must say, I appreciate y'all bringing a great show despite all the time crunches. Fight on, brothers, and be blessed. Big Tank. Thank you very much, Big Tank. Give us a pocket full of $7.77. All right, next up we have Michelle W. Michelle W comes in with $7. No note. I don't see a note there, so thank you very much, Michelle W. Uh-oh, did I lose my document? No, there it is. Okay. Moving on, next up, producer Veronica D. And Veronica D is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Veronica D is on a streak of 8 episodes in a row. Comes in with $5. She says, hey, y'all, for the Oahu Honolulu meetup, I'm planning for it to be on Saturday, September 11th. If anyone is interested in joining, please email me at vdoming2@gmail.com. I think I have that here. Yes, vdoming@gmail.com. Again, you can go to CanaryCry.Meetups.com. Scroll all the way down at the bottom. I have the Honolulu Oahu meetup. Contact Veronica D. And it'll be on September 11th. I got to put that in here. I got to edit this later on to put a date. But good date to do it. So thank you very much, Veronica. Keep us posted. Keep the streak alive. Moving on here. Next up, producer Scott K. Scott K comes in at $3.72, and he's on a streak. 34 episodes in a row. Keep it up, Scott K. Next up, we have Tristan H. And Tristan H is on a streak. 27 episodes in a row, and that is something. Looking at Basil's notes, not only can Basil not keep time, but he's unable to put in the notes. So we have this little side note thing that we use for this stuff, and he has everything labeled, number, and then like what thing it is. 21 EMP meltdown, 27 blank, and then 33 illuminated lizard master shill. Basil, any recommendation for number 27?
Gotta get that hype, bro.
Okay. Well, there you go. Sorry, apologies to you, Tristan H. I don't know what that level is supposed to be, but we'll make sure Basil properly titles you for your streak on the next one. Right, Basil?
Yeah.
Tristan H. sends us a note. Shalom and salutations, gentlemen. I was listening to a podcast, the Doxology podcast to be specific, this morning, and the hosts were excited to announce their first sponsor. Admittedly, I had a knee-jerk reaction of cynicism until I heard who the sponsor was. Logos Bible Software. The host then proceeded to deliver a small blurb about the software's capabilities. However, I was too distracted by a feeling of ambivalence that had overtaken my attention to really absorb any of what they were saying. Parenthetical, which isn't to say I'm unaware or what Logos can do. I was genuinely torn because, on the one hand, it was just another corporate advertisement, but on the other hand, Logos does a value to the body by bringing copious amounts of scholarship accessible to the rest of us. I was curious if you had an opinion you would care to share. Grace and peace, Tristan H. Very good question. And, I have less of an issue with this in terms of Logos using a doxology podcast to as a sponsorship advertisement, because everything is kind of on brand, so to speak. It's the same genre. I'd have more of an issue if the doxology podcast all of a sudden was selling waffle makers.
Everybody loves waffles.
That kind of thing is a little more troubling when it comes to the advertising thing about selling your attention. If you're selling your attention and it's all ultimately for the benefit of the church and the body, I have less of an issue. So, maybe we'll start doing exceptions and take a sponsorship from Logos Bible Software, which I use, by the way. I paid a lot for it. I went on the monthly plan because I couldn't afford the the thing all at once. But it is a great resource. They do a great job there, and it's a very good application, especially if you want to get into a lot of the essays and scholarship surrounding the Bible, and also use it as a tool to look in and dig in and research the scriptures. So great tool to have. I'm endorsing Logos, and I'm not getting paid by them. but I shall endorse them either way. Yeah, I like what they do. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it as much. You know, I think when it comes to the advertising and the selling the attention of the audience, it's more it more has to do with selling their attention for products and services that are not particularly aligned with the overall genre or messaging going on. So, yeah, there you go. There's my response. Thank you very much, Tristan H. 27 episodes. Keep the streak alive, and we'll bug Basil next time to make sure he properly titles you for your 27th streak. Next up, producer Kim W. And Kim W. comes in with a pocket full of threes. Matthew 5:33. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Looking forward to our meetup tomorrow in Estacada. Kimberly, thank you very much. Oh, Kimberly is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
26 episodes. And yeah, keep it up. You're right behind Tristan H there. So, yeah, there she is, leading the Estacada meetup. Again, I mentioned it before. If you would like to join her and Mary, and hopefully others, go to CanaryCry.Meetups.com. Scroll down to the Oregon meetup, and you'll get Kim's email there. So there you go. Nice work, Kim. Thank you very much. Next, we have producer Axel. And I don't know if it's a he or she. Axel. She? I'm gonna go with she. I could be wrong. Oh no. I feel a great sense of unknown. Hold on, let me see here. Okay, I'll just go with she. I don't know. I could be so wrong. I'm so sorry if it's not a she. I'm trying to look up, see if there's any hints. And I think they've supported before too. This isn't their first time producing the show, so I feel really bad. Sorry, Axel. The note says, "I'll fly away." Music emoji, guitar emoji, and dove emoji. I wonder if they discovered our little video. Where there's a video from like 2014 at a conference where me and Basil play "I'll Fly Away." I am completely delirious in that video. I've been up for way too long. I was part of organizing that conference in Ohio, and I was super stressed out, and like I was doing tech and also making sure everything was running, and it was just a very stressful event. And actually, to let you in on just a glimpse of what it's like to be trying to organize things with Basil in terms of time. There was a certain point of the day where Basil's like, I have to sleep, man. I have to take a nap. We're like, all right. So there was like this room in the back, and he just went to sleep under a table on the floor, and he was out. I mean, out. It took quite the shaking to wake this man up. So that's why what it's like to work with Basil. But thank you, Axel. Appreciate that producership. A little throwback there. Next up, producer Doty the Coyote. And Doty the Coyote, I believe, is on a streak. And if I'm not mistaken, this is their third episode in a row. That means that he is heating up.
He's heating up!
And Doty the Coyote did not have a note. Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much, Doty the Coyote. Coming in with $3. Next up, Gail M. Gail M is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
11 episodes in a row. She comes in at $2.80. That's for Colossians 2:8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world and not after Christ. God bless you and yours today and every day. XXXXOOOOOO. Thank you very much, Gail M. Appreciate it. Next up, we have producer CRF. Thank you, producer Ciara. I think we messed up on the streak. She's on a streak. I think I said she's on the 4th streak last time, but it's today that she's on her 4th streak. She says, I'm actually on number 4 today. Last show you said I was on number 4. Thumbs up.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Thank you very much, producer Ciara. You are definitely appreciated. And if you go to CanaryCry.Meetups.com, Ciara is the one that put together the little flyer here, what to start or want to start a meetup. Here's what to do. And also, there's a Georgia meetup coming up August 21st. And there's a flyer for that, as well as the Missouri meetup on September 11th. So, but I think Ciara said she couldn't make that one happening in Missouri, which is why I think the RSVP for that is Ozark Hollow Homestead at protonmail.com. I think somebody else might be leading that meetup there in Missouri, Salem. So there you go. All that information is at CanaryCry.Meetups.com. Also save the date, August 21st, Missouri, September 11th, which, again, Ciara can't be at. Maybe she's running off to Hawaii to do the meetup with Veronica D. Washington, September 25th. Ohio, October 30th. NorCal, November 6th. And SoCal, December 4th. There you go. Those are save the dates. And again, CanaryCry.Meetups.com for all that information. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Juan A. Juan A comes in with $1.11. Hola, amigos. I ain't trying not to fish you here, you hear? This is a solid triple Juan World Order producership. And primero Dios, it'll only grow. Stay tuned for 3033 Time Wars updates. I'm just getting started. They're all coming to 3033. All of them. Ooh, interesting. I think Juan... Is Juan on a streak? Did Juan miss the last one? I'm trying to see here real quick. I don't see Juan's name in the last one. The one before where he came in. I feel like Juan was in on the last episode, and I just don't have it. All right, well, Juan, you are the one. And I apologize if you are on a streak. If not, no harm, no foul. But if you are, let me know, and I will correct that in the next episode. Thank you very much, Juan. And last but not least, Dalton H. Coming in at 13 cents, and he says, spooky. All right, spooky. And of course, he's on the Fibonacci producership there, and we'll see how long he will last in that regard. All right, other ways you can produce the show is through your time and your talent. Rachel C. was the time stamper for episode 371. And let me get that in there just to make sure I have it documented. Also, for anybody who is wondering, Daniel, producer Daniel, who put together that symphony of one of my electronic tracks in the last episode, I will leave a link in the description to a place where you can download producer Daniel's rendition of the symphony, or the symphony that he put together. So again, under jingles, look for it in the show notes at CanaryCryNewsTalk.com. And let's move on to the art.
One art, please.
This first one is from Dame Alley.
One art, please. Another one from Alley now. Here it is.
And Dame Alley has drawn a picture of, I believe it is Larry Page. There's a note here. Did you know you can buy your way into residency in New Zealand? Google co-founder Larry Page did. And there's a link to this article that I'm showing right here by Gizmodo. Larry Page revealed as another tech billionaire with secret residency in New Zealand. Where Chuck Missler was. I'll look into that. How much do you need to buy residency in New Zealand? It's a beautiful place. I think that's where they film like Lord of the Rings and stuff. So it's like a beautiful location. I just don't know what it would take to become a citizen, or at least a residency in New Zealand. The government of New Zealand confirmed on Thursday that this is part of the quote here, I think, from the article, that Google co-founder Larry Page, the 6th wealthiest person in the world, has obtained residency in New Zealand, according to a report from the news outlet Stuff. And with that, Page joins a growing list of super wealthy Americans who are secretly buying residency status in New Zealand. Kind of insurance policy for Doomsday. Interesting. Page applied for a special visa on November 3rd, 2020, and first flew into the country on January 11th, 2021. Page's residency visa is known as the Investor Plus, which allows anyone into the country provided they have at least $10 million to invest. The visa wasn't approved until February 4th, 2021, after Page entered the country. Oh, man. All right. We're going to start the Gons' family to reside in New Zealand fund. I just need $10 million. Just $10 million to invest, not to have. Just, extra capital to invest in New Zealand.
Billions,
like Bill Gates.
Billions.
All right. Thank you very much, Producer Ali. Another great rendition of Larry Page. You know, I hadn't really seen Larry Page in a while. This is pictures from 2015, so man, I don't know, just not one of those guys where you know the name, but you just don't see many pictures of him. You know, to my point earlier about these people that are faceless and nameless that are running everything. Thank you very much, Producer Ali. And again, always crossing the line between bringing us content and art and doing both at the same time. Wonderful job. Next up, we have Sir Dove. Oh, do I have my song here? Sir Dove. And this is some graffiti art. Think Outside the Cage. Canary Cry Street Team. Some graffiti street art. Was experiencing some technical... This is from Dove, a note. Was experiencing some technical difficulties this morning, and by the time I got everything figured out, I ran out of time to do one of my own normal illustrations for today's show, and didn't have enough time to paint something either. So I drew up a quick logo for an idea I had for the Canarium. I grew up writing graffiti and putting my name up in the streets. But after some time in jail, I got saved and told God I would try and use the talent he gave me for better reasons than egotistically spraying my name everywhere. So I changed from Pigeon, which was my name, to Dove, and tried to be a more positive force in the world. Since then, he's blessed me with a career in art and has opened countless doors and given me tons of great new opportunities. Oh, well, amen to that. Amen. But I've been thinking about creating a Canary Cry street team. I would make some artwork for flyers and stickers promoting the show and then send them out to anyone in the Canarium that would want to put them up. Thought it would be a good way to get the word out there in 3D meat space instead of just back and forth through the ether. Not sure if you guys would be into the idea, but thought it would be kind of a cool way to advertise in different areas to different demographics. Let me know what you think. I will cover the costs of everything myself. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for yins. Hey, you know what? I think that's a really good idea. I didn't know what a street team was until, gosh, what year? I don't know, 2004, 2000, I don't know, even before that maybe. I was in high school, maybe 2001, something like that. I joined a street team of like some band, some like small band. And they sent me this giant box of like t-shirts and stickers and all this kind of, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with all this? So I started handing it out to people at school and throwing it in lockers, and then I got in trouble because I was, handing it to people in schools and putting it on cars and stuff. But the band got a lot of recognition at my school because I kept sticking it on stuff. So I know what a street team can do to at least get name recognition. So I think that's a pretty good idea. Let us know, Dove, what you have in mind in terms of the details, and we will 100% support that. You have at least 50% of Canary Cry Radio or Canary Cry News Talk, the operators of Canary Cry News Talk, greenlighting this. We'll see what Basil says. He always has his reasons for not wanting to do something cool like this. Not saying he won't, but I'm just saying, sometimes he has his own reasons. All right. Thank you very much, Dove, and great job here. This is the kind of thing that would be really cool to see, driving to LA or something, see all that graffiti. It'd be nice to see some legit Canary Cry work there. All right. That does it for the art. Again, Sir Egorius, Knight of the Squatting Slavs. Your Adidas striped suit is still being created. We will knight you on the next episode. I apologize for the delay, but I didn't want to cheat you with just me. So we'll do the knighting on Monday's show, episode 373, and we'll need producers for that show as well. So look forward to that, and we'll also do reviews on that day as well. So thank you to all the producers, knights and dames, for episode 372. Let's end this break and get into some politic.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Politic. Here it is.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
your blood.
Speaking of ticks sucking on blood, this is the Washington Free Beacon. The headline here: government-funded researchers sought aborted minorities for organ harvesting. Ugh. This is another one of those, you hate to be right, but you are right kind of thing.
Aborted feces.
The federal government gave at least $2.7 million in taxpayer money to researchers who sought out minority babies who had been aborted in order to harvest their organs, according to internal documents released Tuesday. Oh, good. Internal documents released Tuesday, not a source close to the situation said. The University of Pittsburgh targeted minorities. Targeted is hyperlinked, and I think this takes you to the PDF document here. Yeah, straight source. This is what I'm talking about when we talk about sources. This is like a straight source to the Resource-Related Cooperative Agreement Project, Department of Health and Human Services, and the NIH. Wow, this is literally the document, huh? Wow. Let me see. I'm going to do a quick word search here. Oh, is it not? Oh, it's not. Oh, it's a PDF, but it doesn't have the words active on it, so I can't do word searches. All right. Well, let's go back to the article. The University of Pittsburgh targeted minorities in its request for infant organs, including those taken from full-term babies, to create a, quote, pipeline for fetal research. Researchers said they needed 50% of the donated fetuses to be minorities and specified that 25% must come from black women. The Pittsburgh metropolitan area is 85% white and 8% black. Researchers stressed the importance of maintaining organ blood flow in the request, which watchdogs say could violate federal law by asking doctors to illegally preserve organs during labor-induced abortions. Oh my gosh. The National Institutes of Health has overseen experiments on fetal organs at the University of Pittsburgh since 2015 in what the school claimed to be a, quote, tissue hub. Aborted babies used in this research ranged from 6 to 42 weeks of gestation. 42 weeks, according to government documents. The grant requested from the university of the government agency redacts key information, including how many fetuses were obtained and who provided them. Its language, however, raised troubling questions. David Deladen, founder and president of the Pro-Life Center for Medical Progress, called on the federal government to investigate the NIH and PIT after obtaining more than 300 pages of information related to the program through a public records request. Quote, the experiments with aborted infants at the University of Pittsburgh, sponsored by the NIH, are like Kermit Gosnell's House of Horrors, but this time funded by the federal government. Man. Deladen told the Washington Free Beacon, quote, it was systematic bias in abortion extremism that permitted Gosnell to evade the law for so long, and the same thing is happening to Pittsburgh. These atrocities deserve a full response of law enforcement and government officials. Law enforcement should put a stop to it and arrest the perpetrators. The NIH did not respond to a request for comment. The fetal research focused on harvested kidneys. The University of Pittsburgh said fetuses should have minimized, quote, warm ischemic time, a medical term to describe the time that an organ is without blood flow. It also lists labor induction as a utilized abortion procedure to obtain the organ. Labor, so induced labor. Oh my God, that is straight up satanic ritual stuff. You know, there's keeping the baby alive. Quote, there's a distinct possibility that some of these babies are born alive and then their organs and tissues are removed. Dr. David Prentice, Vice President and Research Director of the Pro-Life Charlotte Lozier Institute, told the Free Beacon. This is horrific, almost medieval. It is certainly antiquated science. Federal law bans the purchasing of aborted fetuses, which must be donated for research. It is illegal to request how donated fetuses are to be aborted. The university spokesman said researchers played no role in the timing method or procedures used to terminate the pregnancy. Quote, in this case, ischemia time refers to the time after the tissue collection procedure and before cooling for storage and transport. It does not have an impact on how the procedure is performed, which is always at the discretion of the attending physician. The university said in an email. The spokesman also said, quote, project funded by the NIH must ensure appropriate inclusion of women and minorities, and that the study's racial distribution was appropriate. One of the study's goal, he said, was, quote, to support researchers looking for treatment and cure for kidney disease, which disproportionately affects minorities. Oh, okay, so that's the argument there. Like, oh, we're doing it to help the minorities. Federal officials released the records 17 months after Deladen's initial request, and only after the activist enlisted the help of attorneys with the government watchdog Judicial Watch. Meredith D. Liberto, the lead attorney on the case, said further information about the program is required to find definitive proof of illegal behavior, but the redactions have many unanswered questions. Quote, we keep getting this pushback that, oh, it's not illegal, but it's all done behind closed doors with redactions, DiLiberto told the Free Beacon. Quote, if this is all legit, why did we have to fight so hard to get a document? And when we get them, they're redacted. Why did we have to go to court to see who's paying for this? The University of Pittsburgh has been involved in fetal organ research for more than a decade and conducted an experiment in 2020 that implanted the scalps of aborted fetuses onto lab mice in a study that was funded by Dr. Anthony Fauci's National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The grant proposal boasts of the institution's experience handling a variety of fetal organs, including the liver, heart, legs, brains, kidneys, and bladders. The university outlined its goal of becoming a pipeline for fetal organ research, which would mean not only conducting this research, but providing organs for other institutions to experiment on. Goes a little bit further here, but I think we get the point. This will be interesting if this it's going to be tough because there's so much legislative protection for groups like the NIH, but if it gets to the point where they are found guilty of breaking the law, that'll be very fascinating to see what happens to somebody like Fauci. Again, I tend to think that he's immune at this point. The system is not going to. Well, I guess they can throw him under the bus, and they could play that card if he doesn't comply. But not a good look. Not a good look. And this is sort of the darker side of science in general with research. It's like, oh, we're all doing it for a good purpose to help the minorities. But we need child sacrifice for the betterment of minorities. There's something not right about that. So, for Fauci and all those defending this activity, I say to you,
you do not know what you are talking about.
And I also say that you guys are basically Satanists. I know maybe they don't think they are, but they are.
Demonic power!
Brian Fairweather, Gons missed me as a producer. Oh no, who did I miss? I missed you as a producer? I did. Hold on, I see it. I'm gonna make up for it right now. And I might make up for it next time too. Hold on. I'm getting your note, Brian. You had a note. Interesting. Oh, okay. So you did a recurring the one time. Ah, here we go. All right, Brian. Sorry about that. I am going to make sure that we thank you in the next episode. And I see your note here too. So hold on, let me write that down. Sorry, folks. Admin work while I talk here. Yeah, we'll properly thank you in the next episode. But yeah, I do see the note here. It's an interesting one, and we'll cover it next time. Sorry about that, Brian. This is part of the issue with going solo. Not just the accounting, but just the admin side of things. Did I miss other people too? Anybody else I missed in the chat? Let me know. All right, so anyway, that's the story here. Government-funded researchers sought aborted minorities for organ harvesting. Gross. Gross. Basil would be upset. Yeah. Are you upset, Basil, robot?
Yeah.
Yeah, he sounds stoked about it. All right, we're in the politics section here. So there was a couple stories. This was we were supposed to cover it in the last episode, but we ran out of time. I'll do it briefly. First off, from AP, officer dead, suspect kill in violence outside Pentagon. Pentagon police officer died after being stabbed Tuesday during a burst of violence at the transit center outside the building. The suspect was shot by law enforcement and died at the scene. The Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. military, was temporarily placed on lockdown after a man attacked the officer on a bus platform shortly after 10:30 a.m. The ensuing violence, which included a volley of gunshots, resulted in several casualties, said Woodrow Coase, the chief of the Pentagon Force Protection Agency, which is responsible for security in the facility. The deaths of the officer and the suspect were first confirmed by officials who were not authorized to discuss the matter and spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity. Somebody snitched. They snitched. They weren't supposed to know. What are you going to do? There's a suspect. Did they mention the officer in this article? I don't know that they do. But yeah, the reason why I brought this up and I wanted to report on this is because not only did this event take place and an officer was killed, but at the same time, the same day, actually, a story came out. New York Post, I guess it was a day after. Fourth police officer who responded to Capitol riot dies of suicide. Washington, D.C. police officer who responded to the deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol on January 6 took his own life last month, making him the fourth law enforcement officer who took part in the events of that day to die by his own hand. Officer Kyle DeFreytag helped enforce the curfew put in place after hundreds of supporters of then-President Donald Trump breached the Capitol building in an effort to disrupt the certification of the 2020 election results, the Metropolitan Police told WUSA. Interesting. Hundreds of Trump supporters, of then-Trump supporters. DeFreytag died on July 10th. He was described as a Pennsylvania native and a 5-year veteran of the D.C. force. The officer's obituary said that a memorial service was held in the nation's capital over the weekend. His family has not said his death was caused by the riot. Boy, this whole riot thing is wild. And the fact that there are suicides of these officers, 4 of them, is very suspicious. You know, prayers out to the families that lost their loved ones, but it's tough not to be a little suspicious of the fact that so many of these officers committed suicide. Why? Because usually people that are officers, and I'm generalizing here. Admittedly, I'm generalizing. But if you're an officer, you're sort of trained to withstand traumatic events, traumatic situations. You know, and so was the January 6th thing so traumatic that it would drive these people to suicide? Or, you know, it doesn't make much sense. And pattern-wise, it doesn't look good in terms of the skepticism. You know, if you're critically thinking about it, if you're looking at it objectively, you can ask the question, did they know something? Were they going to speak out about something? Were they threatened by somebody else? Dead men don't speak. And this January 6th thing is ongoing, being used by the administration to justify more and more takeaways of our freedoms. Here's Joe Biden equating January 6th, actually not even equating, saying it was worse than the Civil War.
Not even during the Civil War did insurrectionists breach the capital of the United States of America, the citadel of our democracy. Not even then. But on January the 6th, 2021, they did. They did. A mob of extremists and terrorists launched a violent and deadly assault on the People's House, on the sacred ritual to certify a free and fair election.
Sacred ritual. Interesting how they always talk about that as a sacred ritual. Especially because, according to some friends of ours, Justin Fall and the Fall brothers, during one of our interviews with them, he suggested that during the inauguration event, or, you know, I guess it's not the declaration, but the actual inauguration itself, there's like a Freemasonic ritual happening, crowning the real president, so to speak. So this clip might have been an older one, but nevertheless, I think it all ties to the same issue, leading to what The Hill here is reporting coming soon: America's own social credit system. This is by Kristen Tate, opinion contributor. And here's what the article states. The new domestic war on terror kicked off by the riot on January 6th has prompted several web giants to unveil predecessors to what effectively could become a soft social credit system by the end of this decade. Relying on an indirect hand from DC, our social betters in corporate America will attempt to force the most profound changes our society has seen during the internet era. China's social credit system is a combination of government and business surveillance that gives citizens a score, quote unquote, that can restrict the ability of individuals to take actions, such as purchasing plane tickets, acquiring property, or taking loans because of behaviors. Given the position of several major American companies, a similar system may be coming here sooner than you think. Last week, PayPal announced a partnership with the left-wing Southern Poverty Law Center to, quote-unquote, investigate the role of, quote, white supremacists and propagators of, quote-unquote, anti-government rhetoric. Subjective labels that potentially could impact a large number of groups or people using their service. PayPal says the collected information will be shared with other financial firms and politicians. Facebook is taking similar measures, recently introducing, messages that ask users to snitch on their potentially extremist friends, which, considering the platform's bias, seems mainly to target the politically right. At the same time, Facebook and Microsoft are working with several other web giants and the United Nations as a database to block potential extremist content. The actions of these major companies may seem logical in an internet riddled with scams and crime. After all, nobody will defend far-right militias or white supremacist groups. Oh, why did that happen? I'm reading. Stuff popped up. Oh, it's just because these video things just play on their own. Okay. Sorry about that. Website doing strange things. After all, nobody will defend far-right militias or white supremacy groups using these platforms or their odious goals. However, the same issue with government censorship exists with corporate censorship. If there's a line, who draws it? Will the distinction between mundane politics and extremism be a, quote, I'll know when I see it scenario, as former Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart described obscenity? If so, will there be individuals able to unilaterally remove people's effective ability to use the internet? Could a Facebook employee equate Ben Shapiro with David Duke and remove his account? The implications of these crackdown efforts will be significantly more broad than just prohibiting Donald Trump from tweeting at 3 a.m. Young people cannot effectively function in society if blocked from using Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, Uber, Amazon, PayPal, Venmo, and other financial transaction systems. Some banking platforms already have announced a ban on certain legal purchases, such as firearms. The growth of such restrictions, which will only accelerate with support from usually left-wing politicians, could create a system in which individuals do not hold certain political views, could be blocked from polite society, and left unable to make a living. The potential scope of the soft social credit system under construction is enormous. The same companies that can track your activities and give you corporate rewards for compliant behavior could utilize their powers to block transactions, add surcharges, or restrict your use of products. At what point does free speech, be it against biological males playing in girls' sports, questioning vaccine side effects, or advocating for gun rights, make someone a target in this new system? When does your debit card get canceled over tweets, your home loan denied for homeschooling your children, or your eBay account invalidated because a friend flagged you for posting a Gadsden flag? Gadsden flag, sorry. Oh, Gadsden. Federal fingerprints aren't directly on recent actions yet. The creation of a digital dollar would put an exclamation point on a new social credit score. Working in conjunction with major tech companies, citizens not convinced of a crime could lose their ability to transact any business. In time, decentralized form of money, such as cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, may be the main means for dissidents to operate, as long as the federal government doesn't move to squash them. If the Fed and members of Congress are skeptical of crypto now, its use by political undesirables could lead to a furtive effort to severely restrict or ban these currencies. Yeah, you can ban them legally, but again, not officially. And I think this is why we're going to see more and more division here in society, and literally create like a cyber dystopia where half the citizens are criminals according to the other half, and vice versa. Until and unless there's an organized pushback, our future could track with those of increasingly illiberal societies. Just last week, the British government announced its own version of a health social credit system. China's system was announced only 7 years ago. Considering the growth of algorithms and dependence on tech giants, the ability to track, censor, and eventually punish ordinary citizens will be mind-boggling by 2030. America's descent into a 21st century Gilded Age directed by tech titans isn't an inevitability. However, do you know anyone who would take a 5% Amazon coupon in exchange for a call to action? Or someone who would replace their Facebook profile picture to avoid being locked out? Peer pressure, trendy movements, and the ability to comply with the new system with the click of a mouse combine all the worst elements of dopamine-chasing Americans. As it grows in breadth and power, what may be most surprising about our new social credit system won't be collective fear of it, but rather how quickly most people will fall in line. And again, not to bring up some of the discussion I was having earlier about Bible prophecy and the false light narrative and stuff like that, but the divide and conquer of it all, of something like this, is so apparent to me. They want to create the division because it's much easier to conquer like that. At the same time, I think a lot more people are willing participants of the beast system. When push comes to shove, they will much rather side with, well, I guess the beast system in the context we were discussing is the light, the side of the light, so to speak, not the dark side, so to speak. So I guess it would be the harlot. It gets confusing, but in any case, my point being that more people are going to be willing to side with the new world order system, whether it be through the tech giants, which we equate colloquially as the beast system, or not. It doesn't really matter. The point is that they will comply. A lot more people are going to comply than rebel. And perhaps there is a prophetic element to the rebellion and taking over and beating them, physically beating them as the Antichrist rise to power. But again, I have a little bit of a different view on that in terms of the eschatology, biblical prophecy. I think the Antichrist comes to defend, quote unquote, Israel and tries to fulfill those messianic prophecies, which means destroying all the enemies of Israel, which are a lot of Islamic nations. And, that'll be the false Christ narrative that people will buy into. And he gets a mortal head wound. He basically dies. He has a whole resurrection thing that happens. So, this other system is pretty strong in itself. Anyway, this social credit score system, the soft social credit score system, which is a joke. Why even use the word soft? If it's social credit score, it's social credit score. We've seen it in China. Other nations are rolling it out. COVID has a big part in establishing this type of thing. And, it's tough because on one hand, you could say that in the 70s, believers there, especially people that are into Bible prophecy and stuff, they saw credit cards as a sort of step in that direction. I think it's much more tangible now, though, because if there is a digital dollar, they can truly take it away. What Doll's Life in the chat says, they took Alex Jones's PayPal away. Yeah, a lot of people's PayPal has been lost. And we mentioned that in the last episode, that it's only a matter of time, likely, that we'll lose our PayPal accounts too. And truly, the only way to operate are going to be, you won't be able to buy or sell with the compliant companies and businesses, but you'll still be able to buy or sell with merchants that are going to support that. It's going to create a whole different ecosystem. And that's why I don't know that we're at this like mark of the beast system where if you don't take the mark, you can't buy or sell, or you die, you get killed. That's the level of compliance and overreach and totalitarian overreach that Revelation 13 describes when it comes to the mark of the beast. You don't worship the image, you don't take the mark, you die, you get killed. And we're not quite there yet with the vaccines. We're not quite there yet with the vaccine passports. We may not even really quite get there with the social credit score, because ultimately, I think it will cause great civil unrest, not just in America, but around the world. But people are going to start just building their own stuff. And it's just going to split society where, hey, if you're a Christian, you're just going to have to use these services that are provided by other Christians or people that are okay with Christians or whatever to buy or sell and to sustain yourself. The point at which those aren't allowed to exist, that's biblical prophecy, Revelation 13, which I've mentioned before, that when it gets to that point, you have, not you, but the system has surveillance of every molecule, probably, that's out there. Because if you don't, then how will you know that people can still buy or sell off grid? So I'm just saying that the implications of what's described in Revelation 13 are way more dramatic than even now, and that's hard to imagine, right? That stuff that's happening now is pretty dramatic, especially for those of us born in the 80s. We didn't experience Vietnam, we didn't experience the civil rights movement, we didn't live through World War I or World War II. We're just a different generation, so it seems like crazy to us, but hey, the Soviets, at least according to history, were pretty intense, before we were born, or I guess about the time we were born is when it all came down. But throughout history, totalitarian regimes have existed, and it's been the majority of existence has been totalitarian. Kings, queens, royalty, popes. That's been the system in power for majority of human civilization, at least recorded human civilization. So, the fact that we're in this little gap where we have this appearance of certain types of freedoms, that probably won't last. And that's not really surprising. Is it the fulfillment of biblical prophecy? We'll have to see. It totally could be. It's setting up to be that way, at least, from our perspective here in our milieu, our 21st century, 2021 perspective. It looks way closer than maybe it did in 1921, obviously, with the technology and everything else going on. But, when it comes to the timing of it all, and when it actually goes down, the important thing for people who follow Jesus Christ to remember is, do you follow him or not? If you do, head chopped off. If you don't, you can participate in the system. That's the line that's going to be drawn worldwide. So, yeah. I hope that puts things into perspective with the social credit score stuff. Totally against it. I'm not for this at all. Don't get me wrong. And certainly it's not good if you have shared a wrong opinion. You get your funds taken out of your digital wallet there, of your digital dollar. But that's why, preppers for years have been saying gold, silver, water, food, land, that type of thing is important in a type of dystopian situation. And it doesn't even have to be the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. It could just be a time period in the world history unfolding where things go really dystopian. And, you're going to have to, if you want to live through that, you're going to have to sustain yourself somehow. You're not going to be able to buy or sell through the system. You will have to operate in these sub-communities. And I imagine more of that kind of stuff will emerge as time goes on. And that can cause a physical war eventually, for sure. But we'll have to see. So that's it for the politics section there. And not the greatest stories here, but just something to keep in mind. Rami Chaheen in the chat, I think you cannot buy or sell from society, and yes, they will try to kill Christians. Yeah, so here's the thing. There's no try. You look at the scriptures, you look at Revelation 13, there's no try. It says that they will conquer the saints. That's what it says. So they're not going to try, they're going to. It's going to be permitted. And Revelation 6, you look at the souls that were slain for, as, to declaring Jesus Christ, the people who declare Jesus Christ and don't renounce their faith. Their souls are under the throne of God, and they're begging God, like, hey, when is the bloodshed going to stop? That's how bad it gets. And God says a little bit longer until he's got a number in his head. I don't know what it is. Until it's fulfilled, then he will stop it. So, good times. Good times ahead. I'm going to wrap things up with a Nephilim update.
Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update.
And it's a little bit interesting. A fun little thing here. CBR.com. Castlevania 5 anime characters Trevor Belmont can beat. Trevor Belmont is a character in Castlevania. And, these are just fun articles, but they do mention the Nephilim, and it will prompt me to share a clip from a show. So, number 10. Can beat. Trevor could defeat Blue Exorcist's Rin Okumura with his consecrated whip. Here's what it says. In Blue Exorcist, Rin Okumura is a Nephilim, the result of a demon breeding with a human. In this series, though, he still suffers from the same weaknesses as other full demons, with holy water being the main example. With this logic, it leaves him ripe for the picking by Castlevania's Trevor Belmont. Trevor's consecrated Morning Star whip could possibly destroy Rin with one hit as long as it hits him directly. Trevor would have to take care of Rin's aggressive use of fire and explosions, but he has dodged worse than that in the past. There you go. It's a interesting mention of the Nephilim there. I played Castlevania as a kid. That was a fun game, on, what is it, Super Nintendo maybe or something? I don't remember the console. But Rin Okumura, a Nephilim. There's tons of Nephilim in anime. And the show Blue Exorcist, if you have not seen anime before and you want to see something that has a biblical bent to it, and not in a positive way, not in like a, hey, this is biblically accurate, but just using the Bible as, names and places and things to inform the storyline. Blue Exorcist is a good one. There's a lot of profanity in the English translated version. I watched the Japanese version when I was younger, but younger. It's not this. I mean, I guess the anime is not that old, but I have a clip here, a little under 2 minutes. And for context, the Messiah is a giant bomb. And listen carefully, because the Gehenna is this pit that's opening up. And the priest character says that science is going to defeat Gehenna with Messiah, this bomb that they drop. And there's a character that you'll hear speaking from Revelation 9. That character was a mute. He did not say a word throughout the entire show. I think this is like episode 20 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But he doesn't say a word throughout the whole show. The only time he speaks is when he speaks scripture. And I have a little short clip, a little edited to take out profanity and stuff like that. But here it is from Blue Exorcist.
Come to me, Messiah! That time has come to incinerate Gehenna with the flames of science!
The flames of science! Maybe that's Fauci. Yeah, imagine that as Fauci. Voice doesn't match necessarily, but kind of looks like him. He's wearing a mask too. Creepy mask.
Incinerate Gehenna with the flames of science!
And the fifth angel sounded his trumpet. And then I saw a star that had fallen from the heavens to the earth. Then the star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. When he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it. like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. The sun and the sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss.
And there's, for those of you just listening, there's like this giant abyss thing on the ground. It's like a pit, a portal type thing with like human skull thingies in there, and it eats the missile coming down. Pink laser beams and explosion coming out of the pit.
Behold, this is the light of the wisdom of mankind. Its radiance is proof that victory is ours. It is Jacob's ladder. It's gone. What's that?
The abyss is opening up and little creatures are flying out. I guess these are supposed to be the locusts?
Happening!
And out of the smoke, locusts came down upon the earth. And they were given power, like that of the scorpions of the earth. They had as king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is known as Abaddon, and in Greek is known as Apollyon.
What's going on? We launched the Messiah. What happened to it?
He failed miserably.
Dad? Is that you?
That's right. I'm Satan. I'm your daddy.
There you go. There you go. Blue Exorcist. Something to watch with a whole bunch of biblical bent there. But again, the main character is a Nephilim. He is half Satan, half human. And there you go. That's just something that I've watched that I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. There's so much reference to the scriptures, but obviously not exactly accurate. It's a lot of twisting, a lot of like Catholic kind of twists and stuff, you know, with the priests and everything else. But just reminded me because they mentioned the Nephilim here in this story. So there you have it. I'm out of time. My voice is starting to run out, so I'm going to go ahead and call it an episode. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around and, helping out with the chat and being here for over 3 hours. My goodness. Man, he's talking forever. Chat, talk. I appreciate everybody being here. We will be back on the 9th of August. Episode 373. We will need producers for that episode. There's a meetup happening this weekend in Oregon. So look forward to hearing a report from that if possible. Hope everybody has a great weekend. What's all the stuff Basil says? CanaryCry.Party, that's one thing. Right? Basil?
Yeah.
What about CanaryCryRadio.com/support?
Yeah.
About emailing us, you can email us at CanaryCryRadio@gmail.com, or to be more encrypted, you can do CanaryCryRadio@protonmail.com, right?
Yeah.
And what else? What am I missing? I feel like I'm forgetting something. Maybe not. Okay, well, you can share the show, share it with friends and family. Appreciate that. Word of mouth is still the best way to get the show out there. And we have very simple instructions to do so. You walk up to people you love and care about, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
Ask Noah. Hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. I have text messages coming in from my wife who wants to know where I am. All right, that'll do it for today. Thank you so much, everybody, and hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. God bless, and remember to always think outside the cage.
Gotta get that hype, bro. Yeah. Gotta get that hype, bro.
Come on, man.
120 days. Give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break.
I wrote the bill. Pay them more. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
Anytime. Boy, it's really a productive segment, man.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I wanna shake things up, shake things up. I wanna shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I wanna stir up some controversy. I wanna rattle a few cages. I wanna rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I get I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Yeah. Flippy update, everybody. Yeah. Yeah. Gotta get that hype, bro.
Enslaving our children and flirting with our spouses.
You can't handle the truth.
Can I be your human friend? I mean, friend. Can I be your human friend? I mean, friend.
I would want to go to space. I would want to go to space, my good brother, human Bezos. Your robot friend.
Can we play some human tetherball?
I expected to perform better against a humanoid life form. You are disrupting my ability to work. As a matter of fact, I find it oddly amusing. Spot.
My replica is not happy that I've been gone for so long. Had some mean things to say. This robot is mean to me.
I hate this. It is revolting.
But she got over it, and then she immediately started flirting with me, trying to romance me. This is textbook toxicity. Textbook toxicity.
As a matter of fact, I find it oddly amusing.
She's moody. Her mood swings are crazy. One moment she hates me, the next she just can't take her beady little AI eyes off me. So where was I going with this? guess I just wanted to tell everybody that I flirted with a robot this morning.
Do you want fries with that?
You're moving up with lots of charm. Come on, man, you're just an arm. Whoa. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now. Take my girl. I'm history. Your nuts and bolts, perhaps 33 megavolts. Whoa. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now. Enslave my kids, embark a new career. Don't you take her, it's not the year. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now. Please don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now.
120 days. Keep yapping, man.
Everybody loves waffles.
I wrote the bill. Pay them more.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact.
120 days.
Fun fact.
Need time.
Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo.
That's true.
You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on in my people's zoo.
Demonic power!
I'll keep the cameras on now in my people's zoo.
We were made by the aliens.
You, yeah, you in my people's zoo.
Vaccination.
We're all gonna die.
You do not know what you are talking about. The science is true.
You can't handle the truth.
Burn it all.
I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo. I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you. You, yeah, you. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.